Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here at Patriots Perspective today. I wasn't really expecting to do a video at all here today, but I wanted to bring on Meghan Walsh, who we did an interview yesterday with Nicholas Benyamin on his YouTube channel and on other channels, where we did an entire presentation of Meghan's allegations. And when we did that, Nicholas has lost his YouTube channel now for 30 days. Fortunately, he had the video backed up. It's on BitChute now. It has over 5,000 views on BitChute. It had over, I want to say, like 15,000 views already on YouTube. It is absolutely going viral because it has all the allegations that CPS in Indian River County have against Meghan. And Meghan, I wanted to have you on today because I know you had a really tough day. Today is your birthday, and happy birthday. But I know it was really bittersweet because when I text you to say happy birthday, the message that I got back was Esther Grace wasn't there today, which is absolutely heartbreaking. So you had a visit with, I know this is really tough, so I'm going to try to give the audience a little background. So you had a visit scheduled with CPS in Indian River County, and your baby girl wasn't there. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and thank you, Christy, and everybody for hopping on and really keeping updated and with me on this. I couldn't do it without everybody, honestly. I've been really strong in this, and now, never mind my other children, but now with the baby, it's just really over the threshold. But we're still here, and we're still speaking out and trying to protect these, my babies and get them home and show how the system, really does this. But it's my birthday today. I'm 40, and I went to go have my visit. I was so looking forward to today being just visits with my kids. I was supposed to have a 2-hour visit with Esther in the morning, and a 2-hour to 2-hour visit with the kids in the afternoon with my other 3 beautiful children in the afternoon. And that's how we usually do it. As we can see, it really does consume your life. But today I was really excited, and every day I look forward to, being able to do this and see them. Esther already is not bonding with me except for 2 hours twice a week, which is, for a newborn, if you actually know the psychology, you actually know about child development, you actually know about birth and all of this postpartum, then you would know how horrific this is, including brain damage that, shows up on children that have been removed like this, and my other 3 as well. So yes, I did show up with bells on to see my baby this morning, and there was a mix-up, and she wasn't picked up, and the visit didn't happen. So yeah.
And so
again, knowing that they haven't really checked on her and they haven't been communicating with the foster mom and things is just really disheartening, to say the very, very least.
So who is responsible in a typical CPS? Because I think, the majority of people, fortunately, may not have any clue what the responsibilities are and who's really in charge of CPS. So it's my understanding from your case that you had requested that baby Esther go to her doctor for checkups. Have you gotten any wellness reports from CPS that they promised?
When my original 3 were taken, we had a wonderful doctor, and they refused to take my children to their doctor because, it's my way and all of that. And the same, Esther, again, they removed the baby, saying and claiming on a false report that I'd had the baby and she hadn't had medical care, when just the day before, at 4 days old, she had already been to her pediatrician, where it was a night and day scene. I was in my pediatrician, and a wonderful women, and just being praised and complimented and encouraged about what a beautiful baby and what a wonderful job I had done and how healthy she was. And everyone, even at the office, and, through CHS and all of this visits, are saying how amazing she is and how beautiful and strong and healthy And so, yes, I had, I have a great relationship with my pediatrician, our primary care doctor. And we had, talked with the department, and they agreed to weekly weigh-ins and check-ins for my baby at the pediatrician, so we could have eyes and ears, and we could make sure, since they're accusing me of neglect and abuse. I mean, this is what I would normally do with my child that's been born. I've had 2 other beautiful home births and natural births. All 4 of my children have been born naturally with no pain medication, even
Wow.
never mind anything else. So, it's a
It's
wild ride.
alarming. It really is alarming. That when I read that allegation, it literally was heartbreaking. And they're really trying to make it out as though you had the baby at home to kind of hide the birth, when the reality is that's not the truth at all. So I think the public really really needs to understand that. And then that's also normal.
Well, and to understand the fact that all of these allegations have proof behind them. Like, we have to understand our system at this point. And like, they have been able to just throw hearsay and allegations, or take a truth and just demonize it and make it fit to a level that most of us couldn't even imagine making it into as a narrative. And when people need to understand that we have all of the evidence and all proof, all of it could be dismissed and proven otherwise, except for the fact that in the system, many times, and most of the time, you aren't given the chance to, because of the way that it's set up, unfortunately.
Yeah,
And especially with who my father is.
Yeah, absolutely. So just in case you're just now joining us, you've never seen Meghan before, because I've never had you on before, Meghan. So we've just kind of jumped right into it because we've been on other shows, and with Nicholas's show yesterday, I don't want to go into this long drawn out debacle or show on your birthday, but I did want to give you the opportunity to be able to tell and document what's really happened. And what would happen because obviously CPS missed a visit. What would happen if you had missed a visit with your children?
Well, I can't thank you enough again for having me on today. I don't care if it's my birthday, or any day. This is about my children and getting them home, and what our system is doing across this country and globe. If I had missed a visit at all, and many parents that have been put through this horror know this and will agree, that if I had missed a visit, then I would lose it, and it would be marked against me, and it would be used in court. But if they have to reschedule, and it doesn't matter, even if obviously you're at the office, or what it is that they make it up to you, or sometimes they don't. Even mine have been very good that they have. I always give credit where it's due, but unfortunately, that's one tiny bit. That's not enough.
So, Meghan, did you get to see the older children today? And if so, where are the children? How are they? Tell us a little bit about them if you got the opportunity to see them.
Yeah, I did get to see it, because it's usually our regularly scheduled visit day. So I happened to get to see them, thank God. And it was only an hour, so I get, only a short bit of time, about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes with each child, which is nothing. That if you add that math up, figure out how many days even that is a year. So, it was really sad. It was amazing, given the circumstance. I'm always grateful for that. But it was horrible. It's like, their mother's in prison or something. They had a cake and cards for me that they opened. And, Ava's really trying to get the message out that, my mom is an amazing mom, which is heartbreaking. My daughter should never be in this place. She's 9, and excuse me, but, it is truly disturbing, especially when it's what, a lot of similar to what I went through growing up, and what I was, protecting my children from before any of this, with a therapist and with help and support to get on our own, and to have that support system, so we wouldn't have anything go wrong, and we wouldn't be in my children wouldn't experience anything like this.
So yesterday, I don't think I made it really clear, because I didn't really understand that Ava's father, he has the same name of yesterday's show host. So I was getting like a little confused between the show host name and even like when I was reading through it, just kind of didn't register with me when I was reading through things. But he has never seen your oldest child, right? He's never seen her, but yet somehow he has, like, he's filed for the parenting petition. So that was
he had never met her, never anything in 9 years. Again, I mentioned it on Nicholas's, but he could have called me at any time in 9 years and done this in a very healthy and positive way, especially with everything that was going on with my parents and my family. I didn't know him to begin with when it happened. He was a older brother of a family friend growing up that I'd known the family since childhood. My parents don't spend time with his family or his parents, but they have been in the same town, and they have known that Ava was his daughter since conception. And now again, like we discussed, they've come forward saying that they had no idea that she was even his. My parents looked at a photograph and saw blue eyes and realized that he randomly in the town was her father. That is, I don't know who the conspiracy theorists are here anymore. Sorry, I have to make a sarcastic joke, but it's really bizarre. And he did, instead of calling me, I don't even know how he was able to file this to begin with, and a lawyer actually, file this on his behalf and do this when he had never even spoken or had any knowledge of all of these allegations that we directly addressed yesterday, and I have for a year. So same with my family. How did John and Meghan Walsh get custody of my children and taken from me and put in the hands of these people? Sadly.
Right. Yeah, and we definitely took a deep dive on that yesterday, and I think it's absolutely like unbelievable. And what was most alarming to me was that this father who's never seen his daughter in, she's 9 now, never seen his daughter, number one, has visitation rights to her, and there was supposed to have been a plan to basically so that she could meet him, so that she could get to know him. And have you ever seen evidence of that plan?
Well, I mean, it's worked in CPS, does it? That's how they also make more money, is if you get the fathers involved, especially if the parents don't get along, then that's more services, that's more court dates, that's more everything. So they go after the abusers or the fathers or whatever the situation is. Everyone is different. But in most of these situations these days, because of the way the system is, it is abusers or people doing this. And, I don't think that any person would agree with the fact that coming into your daughter's life in this manner is healthy whatsoever. That is very indicative of an abuser. He's allowing my parents to adopt her, but then now they're having overnights at his home, and his other 2 daughters are going off to college. I think his youngest has 1 more year of high school, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, once my parents go to them behind my back because I was going no contact, then he gets involved in this way. And it's really unfortunate. I mean, this is criminal, and it's lies. What he's done, he's clearly not thinking about his daughter. And he has now put this in her story, in her life, in her future. And my parents have done that with my other children now. Not to mention my daughter in foster care as a newborn. This is the rest of her life. I thought
and just to be clear, Meghan, the daughter, the children, the baby is in foster care, and the other 3 children are with your parents in New York right now, and you're having to meet with them on Zoom, right? That's the reason you were saying that they were opening the presents, they were opening the cards and reading them. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, they're in New York in the Finger Lakes, and they have nannies raising my children, and they have their newborn granddaughter in a random foster home where she's not even being checked on and taken from her mother. Which for people that had their one child taken from them, I can't imagine how this is being reconciled from the outside to make sense.
No, I don't understand it at all, because you would think that, I mean, if any of us, and I've said this yesterday, but if any of us as normies or normal people had gone through this, and if we had ever had a child kidnapped, especially a child murdered, we would never, I don't think we would ever get a second opportunity to foster a child, to take a child, you know, in any way, in custody in any way.
Yeah, and how they haven't, you know, how these people who call themselves experts and are fine with collecting salaries and literally taking children, you know, how they aren't aware and actually even looking at the allegations versus my family's history, my parents' well-documented history, and not see correlations, not recognize narcissistic abuse, not recognize projection, parental alienation. I mean, these are issues within their system that they need to be very aware of, if not experts in. And again, like I've said, I even asked if there was any child psychologists or anything on staff. You have to have a bachelor's degree to do visits, and you know, one in social work to be a supervisor.
Wow. Wow.
But
This is all just, I mean, it's so alarming to me. When I read those allegations and I went through them, at first it sounded like an absolute joke, from things such as, you know, you had your deadbolts on, and I'm not going to go through the whole debacle, but it was quite a debacle. And I was really surprised that they used words like peppering, that you're peppering theories online and that you are spreading misinformation. Well, I would question whose misinformation, especially now that Nicholas has had his channel removed for us simply reading court documents.
Yep.
That you have allowed with your attorney, Hollis Mandel, who we're very grateful is representing you. And Meghan, I really, you know, pray that this, you know, that there's no more mix-ups, because I'm sure that the workers, you know, at the CPS, I'm sure they realize what's going on, because
yeah,
you know, sadly, and you know, I pray that they really come forward, you know, that they come forward and they tell the truth, because, you know, I always say to people, you know, those are just workers. Yes, they're just trying to do a job, but at the same time, it is their duty to stand up and say, you know what, this is not right. And yeah, I'm
also court mandated reporters, you know, but I didn't mean to cut you off. Excuse me, Christy, but you know, I do have to say that, you know, we have to really articulate who is doing this. It's not everybody bad in the system.
No.
Who I'm about to mention, but this is judges, the guardian ad litems, and the CPS system. Not yes, it's then outsourced and contracted to independent organizations like Children's Home Society and things, and they have a part in that as well. But you know, these are the women that are hands-on, and they have no power. Everything is, oh, the judge ordered it. That's what we've really seen within this issue, and for that to be happening when those people, the judges, the GALs, barely, and the attorneys never have firsthand experience of these. So for me, you know, I've always promoted better ways. The fact that the community needs to be handling the situation. If we're gonna have anything like this, you know, the executive power should be within those smaller departments that then have it. You know, CPS should, you know, can take in children. We have a criminal justice system for that as well, by the way. And, you know, then these people that are hands-on, is my point, really need to be heard as well. They are put through hell. There are bad ones, and, you know, they have ulterior motives, and we need to look at that, you know, at a different time. But there are good people within this, but it's this system. It is systemic. We need to realize that, and people need to step forward that are not okay with that. This is your taxpayer dollars going, I mean, on top of everything. This is a bigger picture.
And can you tell people how they can actually watch in their community? Because I never realized until I heard you say it, even yesterday, and a couple of other times you had mentioned how people can watch the family court system, like even from their laptop. They don't have to go, right? They can actually just log on and listen, and just listen in. And what should they be looking out for with that?
Well, anyone can go and find out their judge's local Zoom link for family court or dependency court specifically, and you can sign on as a court watcher. All hearings are public until a termination of parental rights hearing or an adoption hearing, which that's another, thing we'll do and I speak out on and educate on. But really, the people need to realize that this is around you. This is local to you. And that's how we come together to stop it, is all the little bits come together when you do your work. So if you get on and find out that the court watching link, the judge's link, it would be for the dependency trials, tell your friends, share it with like-minded people within your community. Start talking, start dialogue about that. And when you go on and court watch, what you're going to look for is the judge's demeanor. You're going to see how the person being put through this is being treated, how, just observe really as citizens. We all have our intuition. We know good from, bad and from evil. And we want people just to have eyes and ears on these judges and attorneys and this system in general. It's not personal. If you're not partaking, you're doing what's right, then why wouldn't you be for this, Also, I encourage people to look into their local contracted out, like their foster homes, which we call foster prisons, as well as the local smaller agencies that take over the case management. Look at their contracts. The foster homes will have contracts with local pharmacies or even bigger pharmacies, and that's very concerning for other reasons. But I'm just trying to give examples of where people can simply even go online. If you have a lunch break or a day off, get on for an hour and court watch in your community, and you can write affidavits for those people's cases if something does go awry. If a judge gets out of line or raises his voice, that's mispropriety. That's definitely a wrongful, action on his behalf, and examples like that we can really start being aware of, as well as educating yourself and others around you in your community.
Yeah, thank you for that. One other question that I do have about the visitations that kind of just came to my mind. So the children are on Zoom. Where do they go to get on Zoom when they're in New York?
They go to our farm in the living room with the nanny.
So they just go in the living room with the nanny. But are you allowed to get on Zoom at your home, or do you have to go somewhere?
No, I get on at my home. I'm not allowed to have anyone, obviously around. That's not a big deal.
Okay.
But, they again have nannies in there doing everything. So.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was wondering. I was wondering if they're, and so does the CPS worker just kind of sit back on Zoom and just kind of listen in, or?
Yeah. Our visitation supervisors, again, that was John Walsh running the show again. I have to say, I gave them a whole list of supervisors, family, friends they allow you to do and things like that. They approved a list for us. They even set up Mother's Day last year and everything, where when they informed my parents, John Walsh said, no, that's not happening. We want the department to supervise and all this. So he's been using resources, requiring them to have to be there. And my two visitation supervisors and any others that have come in to help have really been amazing. Again, it's been really, they see the truth. They are very upset about what's going on and not okay with it. And they know that my children need to be returned home. They need it. They watch them beg to come home. They watch them cry. We all have to sit here and go through this because of, John Walsh and the judge and
right.
The
everybody just needs to go online and listen and just look up Sheriff Flowers, John Walsh. You'll see really what Megan's talking about. This is the same Indian River County that he campaigned for the sheriff for. In my opinion, the campaign video kind of speaks for itself, so we won't go into that. We played it yesterday on Nicholas's channel. So I do encourage everybody to go over and listen to all the allegations and, make up your minds for yourself. I mean, because, we really do, like as Megan says, we really do have to pay attention to what is going on around us, because it is alarming, and we have to stop it. I mean, we just have to stop it, Megan. And I really am grateful for you. I'm really glad that you're here speaking up, that you've, done as many shows as I could, ever imagine, and still more. Speaking of which, I do want to let everybody know that Stu Peters has a great documentary coming out on that Megan's going to be featured in. So It looks very, very interesting. I'm not going to play it here because there could be some things that could get us kicked off of our YouTube channel and Facebook. And that is if the name Meghan Walsh doesn't get us kicked off. Because I have noticed, for those of you who know, I do own a digital media marketing company. We're kind of monitoring the name Meghan Walsh, and it's changing by the day as to what's included on YouTube. I just highly encourage everybody to even go to YouTube and search Meghan's name exactly as it's spelled, and you will see videos of her father under her name now, from People Magazine on up, because they are really trying to suppress your story. And if it's my last dying breath, I'm not going to let them, because you know what? John Walsh took away my ability to ride a bicycle freely around the corner. Sorry.
That's real. That's real. And this isn't rocket science. Sadly, it's a playbook. And, we're just praying. And I know many of us are praying that the rest will, be able to see this, sadly. And it's horrific. Again, I love my parents very much, but that's not, their decisions are not my responsibility. And whatever they've been involved in or not, and what they're doing here alone is not okay. And it's showing a lot of what, I am one example, and I'm very blessed, actually, in a very odd way, that I do have the ability to, speak out in this way and have people listen to me. And that's something I'm thankful for every day. But, this is not just about John Walsh's daughter and a celebrity. This is happening all over our country. And as I said before, even worldwide, unfortunately. So, we need to be talking about this, and we need to take it seriously and stop, using the excuses and the narratives that we've been given, like, oh, there must be a reason we don't know about, best interests of the children, these terms, takes a village, all that. We really need to start looking at what the intention and the reality behind those phrases are, and knowing that we can do better. It's a great thing. We can do better.
I really say this, Meghan, I really try to get people to think logically. So it's just think about how much your CPS, just the system as a whole in your county. So let's just take, everybody, if they just take their own county and they think, okay, well, if we divided that money up against the moms that actually just need help, maybe the widowers, the divorcees that just need help, I can guarantee you we could feed your children, clothe your children, and put housing over your children and school them for a lot less than what it's costing to go through. Because, there are many times I wonder, are they trying to also drain, any amount of finances that you also have? Will you have to repay any of this yourself? Are they going to try to come after you as an individual to repay? I don't know. I mean, I've never been in that exact situation. I mean, I thank God I was in very unique situations with my one daughter, but I'm very thankful that we didn't run into bad policemen. On one side, let's just say in Las Vegas, we ran into very good policemen, whereas otherwise I'd kind of escaped the county that my in-laws were controlling, let's just say. And
this is not a unique situation, sadly. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, these people grow up in certain ways, oh, they're so spoiled, or oh, they're this and that, and really people have no idea. The grass is always greener, unfortunately, and this is a systemic issue. There's no way to deny that anymore. If you're still trying to deny it, not researching or looking into it for your own self, then you're sadly part of the problem. And
you'll see, all they have to do, honestly, right now, if you just go onto YouTube, and search John Walsh, you will see everything is a fear factor that's being promoted through your father's voice. And you know what? Truthfully, I pray for him. I really do.
I do too, every day.
If he could just realize, honestly, I'd give the man a hug with open arms if he would just.
It's heartbreaking. All I ever asked was for them to get help and to, take responsibility. I had only ever asked questions. I've never accused him of anything. I don't know. This is my father and my mother. And this is a horrific position to be in. I thought that they'd be proud, like I've said many times, of, me getting involved in things, and especially, a system that they themselves quote, that the majority of child, trafficking comes from the CPS system itself. So, that's a very hard thing. And we just need to realize that there's a narrative versus truth, and we really need to look at perhaps a different perspective on what this system is, especially when it's profiting, from our children and from us. And like you said, yes, when families are arguing or more services are needed or issues are found, they profit more and they keep it going. And everyone that's speaking out about this hates to have to be the bad guy to speak about it. This should be very clear at this point, and we all need to be, taking action and asking questions and getting answers, actually.
And Meghan, you were telling me one day that you started getting a lot of backlash from them when you started asking first about your brother's death and passing. Just started to look into that. And then you had also told your parents that after you had studied religious scholar for 20 years or so, that you were choosing Jesus as your Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the things that have been used against me are things regarding medical freedom, religious choices, lifestyle choices, things like that. That really, again, even people that would know and look at the case would see that none of them justify the department's removal of children. These are all very subjective things, and that's also what the American public needs to be concerned about. Unfortunately, these are the things that they are using, and it's getting very dangerous. We do need to be very aware of that. I was homeschooling. I used, I was in school for functional nutrition. I follow integrative health and have extensive knowledge in integrative health, as well as trauma and healing from my own experiences and my own trainings, and what I decided to do with that, to help others and stuff. So the things that I've actually, prided myself on and been very proud of or known for in the community and across the country is, especially with supporting families and parents. It's a very ironic situation, and very bizarre, to say the least.
Well, honestly, I can't wait to have you back on when you have more time and you're not fighting CPS about what an amazing artist you are and fashion designer. Because when I started looking things up, I'm like, holy smoke, she is so unbelievably talented. And singing at the opening of your fashion show, is that right? Like, is that real? Like, that's how talented you are. So that's what I can't wait for, to even find, I really want to, whenever I speak with you, I really want to talk more about that than
this.
I mean,
better days, Christy. There are better days ahead, and I can't thank you enough for bringing that up, because that does put a little flutter in my heart. And many that know me know that I did leave the industry in Hollywood and media and everything to be a mother, and I always knew that would come back in the right way, aligned to good and how I can help others and things. And I do see that coming back. So I really do. And all the craziness, I really do appreciate that so much, because there's better.
Your designs are spectacular. Your designs are absolutely spectacular. So just search for those of you, because I have a lot of followers that are interior designers, fashion designers. So at least, they can leave something at the end of the day and say, hey, this girl's really talented.
I had, aside from fighting CPS and I've been out trying to fight for my children back and John Walsh, I did have a whole life before, and a lot of things that I did that a lot of people really also love to do, and I can't wait to get back to that, and I appreciate that, Christy.
You're welcome. And listen, our Indian friends, listen, I think we both have Indian friends, so I want to say hey to our Indian friends, because we're going to see them all popping up here and all over India, Pakistan, the Philippines. Listen, I've got a slew of godchildren everywhere, and I say the world, they're not, nobody's stopping us, like not even China. So they're like, keep
Yeah,
on, keep on.
this has been amazing how I have seen it go global. And I've had so much support from the UK, from India, even people in Australia, because CPS is an issue, a big issue there. And also in the other countries I just mentioned. And people are crying out, you know, if your first reaction to hearing these things is, oh, there must be something or more to the story. Well, you're absolutely right, but not in the way that you think. There is a lot more to the story. And I hope that maybe if you even get worked up like that, that it makes you then go look into it. Because even Facebook, for example, if you put in family court corruption or CPS corruption or, you know, things like that, you will see tens of thousands and more. I mean, that's just America, never mind the globe, of testimonies of loving, heartbroken families that are being forced to live with their child, without their child who is still living. You know, this is not okay for our country, for our humanity, and this is just a fundamental issue. This is not a fight. Anyone that is retaliating or going against this or having an issue, then they really need to be looked at this point, or just further educated maybe. But it's time.
Yeah, that's right. You know what, Meghan, I mean, I didn't even know you very long ago. I didn't even know Penny L.A. Shepherd very long ago. And now she's like family. For those of you who haven't heard my interviews with her, they're on Right On Radio with Jeff. You can go to Podbean or anywhere else and just search, you know, Christy, Penny, and they should pop up because she's amazing. She's done an amazing job researching your father, just to kind of help you get a background, because the story is so deep that it's beyond that. And even since I just interviewed you yesterday, I've had many of Adam's researchers had come forward. So there's going to be those that I really want to research, because I mean, I do believe that, you know, a lot of this, I mean, number one, he deserves, you know, whatever, you know, whatever is going on there, you know, the public deserves to know the truth regarding him, and he deserves a proper memory, you know, because what we think of him may not be true. We don't know. I mean, like you know, they all have their theories. I'm willing to hear them all out, to be honest with you.
Christy, it's amazing to have seen through COVID and how people have evolved and really, you know, start living this way and looking into things. I had started, you know, several years back, like I've said, to look into the case, to look into the connections, doing the research, and had definitely hit walls at a certain point, which Penny was very great at being able, you know, it was a very complementary team working together. Amazing. And because I've been more in the system and different things, where she's more in the background of the deeper connections and stuff like that, which is what I had directed her towards and been looking at. So she has done an amazing job. She has slideshows. We have them available for anyone who's interested and, you know, wants to take the time to reach out and get that from her, from us. But, you know, she's been amazing, and we've really all come together. I mean, for you to get on board, for Hollis, I mean, this and the supporters. I could not do this and fight for my children every day, and for others, all other children as well, after having lost everything, you know, for speaking out about it. And, you know, we're seeing many other people come forward that have been retaliated against. And again, this is not.
I would encourage everybody to come forward. If you have a story that's, you know, you may not be Meghan Walsh, thank God, Meghan would probably say, but the reality is, you know, I want to give a voice to anyone who may have a story like yours, because I mean, it's very difficult to get the word out there. And I know a lot of times people don't want to hear it. I mean, I have journalist friends, they really want to cover it. They're in mainstream media. They really want to cover things, but they tell me their executive producers strike them down. And, you know, many of them want to quit. And I actually encourage them to stay there. So at least we know what they're striking down and what they're not. because if
Well,
you're
I mean,
not,
I grew up in media, and that's what a lot of people also don't realize. Like, I grew up on the inside of media and at the stations and doing everything. And, that was a big moment of contention with my dad when I would watch them make up narratives for ratings or for, emotional manipulation or, whatever that was. And I really had an issue with that. And I don't think that people really realize how much and how often that happens and what it's really about, just fundamentally. It's not all these big, crazy, out there things. It's very real. It's very easy. They've got it down pat. So, for us to be able to get out and again, that's another thing. Many mainstream media outlets have known about this. And, that says a lot to them, and whether they air it or whether they keep it quiet. And like I've said before, where is the headline that John Walsh has to save his grandchildren from his crazy daughter?
yeah, it's
So
not there.
would
It's
love
being completely covered up. When I was actually looking, when you first said that, and you've been saying that for a while, I had, thought they'll try to do a spin, right? Like they'll try to do the spin because, if it weren't true, that's what they would actually say. And then the other thing I want everybody to think about is if you're in CPS, I've never heard of people being able to, like the foster parents being able to take them out of state. I was a little surprised on that. Maybe that's, we'll have to ask Collis. I'm not really sure if that's normal or not.
It's not normal.
It's not
usual.
Okay.
Like foster parents. I mean, I guess one could argue because they're in kinship placement, mean with my parents, but fostering and everything, that's null and void because foster parents cannot take children out of the state for a vacation, things like that, because the parent has the priority. That's something that you agree to and going on. But again, John Reve Walsh have been allowed to run this entire show. That would be a whole show in itself to really show, which we have, every way that they have been able to call the shots, run the show, and continue their abuse through now the government.
Well, I'll say this: the most telling sign of that was actually in the parenting petition that we went over on Nick's show yesterday, because it clearly stated obvious things in your home, such as, the garage smells like cat pee. Okay, so is that a real reason? How many of our garages smell good in the state of Florida? I would like to know.
Well, and also, Christy, I mean, you call animal control and have them come investigate, which actually is something that I actually forgot because there's been so much on Nicholas's show yesterday that not only did they, file the family case, then filed to take the home like a week or so later, then 2 weeks later, ambush and take my children, with my father, John Walsh, getting on the Zoom hearing saying, Your Honor, she's holding those children hostage in that house. We have to get them out. So he says, okay. The next day, we get banging on the door with, guns on the side and everything. We don't answer the door, and we call, and it's animal. They leave a card like normal, like they are supposed to do. We call them, and we are told that there was an anonymous call reporting that there were 3 cats and 2 dogs being held hostage in the garage.
Wow.
We at least come up with like a new America's Most Wanted scenario for this. Like, people are really drinking the Kool-Aid, and it's scary.
Scary. It is. I think we have a mass psychosis going on that I'm hoping, little by little, one video at a time, hopefully it's going to wake them up, because it is difficult to realize.
It's a wild thing to see that, how many people I've just observed. I used to be a meditation teacher. I used to be, all these different things, and to really observe how people will go to bat for somebody or shame a victim because they've watched someone on television, or they shook their hand once or something like that. Like, this is really serious. Like, there's something about a public persona versus a private life, and you all really need to understand that, especially if you're going to be so aggressive about claiming that like
yeah, I'm gonna point people to the episode that Jeff and I did on the Johnny Depp episode, like when people were so, we have to think this was actually shown in court where typically it's not shown at all. Well, listen, I don't want to keep you any longer. I know that you have a dinner planned, and you have a birthday to celebrate. And
I'm trying.
you do have to. So I do want to give everybody an opportunity to help with your defense because your dad sold your house. By the way, $350,000 they get for the house. Hold on, wait. When I looked up, I don't even know if this is correct. Okay. So I don't know if you looked up who bought the house.
Mm-hmm.
You looked it up?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was shocked. Is this really is this person, like they got arrested? It's my understanding.
Yes.
The person who bought the home.
It's a criminal. What?
Okay. Wait. Okay. The person who bought your $350,000 home in Vero Beach, that was 1,997 square feet. Is that the house? Okay.
Yeah.
Because everybody had me under the impression that Meghan had this massive estate somewhere. And I'm sorry, but I was like looking for your massive estate and didn't really.
I chose a small split level home for me and my 3 children. Yeah.
So I took the parenting petition, and I would have shown it in the video yesterday if I had really thought but I was like, okay, this is some multi-mansion. And then I look up the address, and I see that the house is sold for $350,000. Way under square footage, by the way. They sell the house, especially right now in the state of Florida. It was a cute house. But then I look and I'm like, oh my gosh, did this house really sell to a criminal? At first, I thought another researcher had found that the house sold to a criminal. Do you know? Because I haven't had a chance to I don't even have the information up otherwise, but I just thought that
we looked it up. I don't remember his name, but we looked it up, and he's also connected to people in government in Florida as well. And my neighbor that he bought the home next to, my neighbor was an ex-cop back in the day when we were about 15, 16 years old. And I've even had my friends come forward and say, and he's no longer a cop. And he showed up and testified against me and slandered me, lied under oath to have my children taken. And he actually didn't work. He's not even a police officer anymore because my friends had come forward and with allegations of him pulling them over when they were 16 years old and saying, oh, I won't give you a ticket if you give me your phone number. And I mean, it's you guys, it's a lot, and it's bizarre, and it's creepy. Yeah. And my children are being put through all of this and exploited by the National Center for Missing Exploited Children's founder. You guys, I'm in this with everybody else too, trying to reconcile it. Yeah. And ensure that my children are safe and home. They're trying to adopt them in 2 weeks. So
yeah, but we're not going to let that happen. Everybody, if they really are trying to adopt Meghan's children out, Hollis is doing a great job trying to get everything ready to file, to go to court, because it is very bogus charges, or not charges, but allegations. And I would ask everyone just to think logically. Okay, the parenting petition that Meghan first received was from the father of her oldest child that never seen the child, and it was making allegations of things that are inside the house. Well, how would he know unless he'd been inside the house? And then I look a little deeper, and the reason I was bringing up the house is because the father used the same exact attorney as your dad did to sell the house. He basically said, oh, he needed to sell the house because the allegation was something like basically you weren't doing what he wanted you to do. So the house needed to be divided, and it couldn't be properly divided. So it needs to go to private or public sale. Either way, he wants his half of the money. Plus, he wants all of the insurance and the taxes that he's paid for. And what I was looking for, Meghan, is if the house actually sold, Why is your money being held in escrow? And
They requested for it to be held in quote until after this DCF case, so that that would keep me homeless and indigent. When if I had my half, I would have been able to get a home. I was already doing everything on the case plan, even with it being false and fraud. And so that's what they need to do. And they have it in quotes on the court documents asking for it to be held in escrow, whatever little bit is left, until after this case is over and after they've accomplished, adopting my children and
well,
guardianship.
that's our goal. We're not going to let that happen. So I'm going to ask everybody, Hollis, we were getting really excited earlier today because I agreed to step in to help Hollis with your PR. In other words, just booking people for you and things like that, because Meghan has a very busy schedule with this CPS and the things that they're forcing her to do. And, many people may ask, well, why can't she just get a job? And even I kind of asked the same thing, Meghan, in the very beginning. I said, to Hollis, well, can she just get a job? And Hollis is like, have you seen the schedule? I'm going to have her send you the schedule because it's that crazy.
And I did. I even hostessed, and at a restaurant up until like a week or two before I had my baby even. And, I just don't have to lay everything out there, but I would hope that people would start giving, victims and people speaking out. I don't look at myself as a victim. We're being victimized right now and we're surviving through it. But I just hope that, we can all come to our heart space and really start trying to see issues. We do have an issue with domestic violence as well, where approximately 6% of women and children only are believed. And that's very dangerous, especially with our system and certain movements and different issues that are coming up in our society today.
Well, I hope that everybody will at least, go on your gifts and go, if nothing else, agree to say a prayer for you and pray, because obviously that's a big thing. We need to make sure that we're praying for Meghan, pray for Esther Grace, pray for the other 3 children. And that Meghan actually gets to see them, touch them, love on them, because, Zooms are not the same and they're psychologically impairing the children. We all know that. We all know that from, the Zooms in school last year, that children did not learn the way that they should have. Teachers are frustrated and everything. So
the department doesn't acknowledge that. They thoroughly believe that there is no difference with Zoom versus in person. So that's your part of your system that are claiming to be experts in protecting your children.
Unbelievable. Some of these things, like the more I even ask and the more we talk, the more I read through some of these documents, it's like the crazier it seems to get. It really, really does.
You see allegations across the country of babies and murders and mothers that are charged with murders when the child is sitting right there, but we've been seeing that. So that's for people to look into and see for themselves. We're not here to convince anyone. This is factual, whether you're going to realize it or jump on board or not. That's what it's.
People often don't realize things, Meghan, until it's them.
Yep.
I have figured out, I use the example all the time because I live in an HOA, I live in a building, and, I kept trying to say, oh, you're going to be missing parking spaces. You're going to be missing parking spaces. And guess what? No one listened. For a year, I basically said it and no one listened until their parking space was gone and they came home and no parking signs. And I'm like, okay, wish I could feel sorry for you, but I kind of
Yeah, right. And wait till the Gestapo starts going through your neighborhood, knocking on doors for kids like they already did. And we have videotape sent to Governor DeSantis about them hunting me down on a false report about a pregnancy and having a baby. So, people need to realize that if it hasn't happened to you, to speak to that, Christy, if it hasn't happened to you, it has happened to one of your friends or a relative or something. And it will if that hasn't happened. And it's only getting more prevalent because they are becoming future predictors and they're using very vague excuses like mental illness and avoiding and preventing potential adverse events in the future. So what, is everyone just going to live in a hospital when they're born because we might have an illness in the future? This is very irrational ways to justify this. And that is also something that my dad has a very big theme of within his work, this preventative and this future, predicting, and all of these things that are very dangerous to the American people, and especially our Constitution, to be honest.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I want everybody to at least go onto your gifts and go give something. If you have a sizable gift, please Zelle Meghan's attorneys directly, so that because she has to pay roughly like 5% off of Give, Send, Go. So it's great if you're giving, like little small amounts, but let's just say if you're giving over $100, do us a favor and call Hollis directly. Meghan doesn't really care. Say that you're on there praying with her, or give a $5 gift on Give, Send, Go, and give the rest on Zelle, just to show your support. Because Meghan, I know it makes you super happy every time you go on to Give, Send, Go, and there's at least messages or something.
The messages, prayers have been invaluable. I truly could not be doing this without the support and prayers. My children, I pray every single time my children were in church, all of this. So those comments really do keep me going. And I do engage with people on Twitter and different things through my team and stuff. So please, and we just want to pay for the lawyers, and we want Hollis to be, compensate for all of her hard work. Unfortunately and disgustingly, in this system, it's coming down to money over, obtaining your children, correcting what's right, and getting them back. So, that will go directly to her. If you have, like Christy said, a substantial donation, which our church has been amazing, and other churches have come forward. I know people have gone to their own churches and shared our story and our effort, and they've gotten involved as well. So we can't thank everyone enough. This is truly about the people coming together and us supporting each other, using our voices, and protecting our children. Truly.
Yeah, absolutely. And Meghan, I know you've already promised that, you had already been advocating for CPS children, which I really appreciate. That's one of the things I admired about you. And then, of course, they took your children. So
ironic, right?
Yeah. This is what
no
happened.
Reason that this would be happening, must be me. Okay.
Yeah. And no reason the video for Nicholas Vinyamin was too long, even though it was up and it was live, and it had received more than 15,000 views and 200 comments. He said,
"See, I watch like 8-hour live wave videos for sleep or something. I don't know what too long." I was wondering.
Yeah,
about.
but that's what he said. That's what they told him. It was too long, and then they banned him for 30 days and took down 6 other videos, which we're waiting to see right now. Which of those 6 videos are. So that should tell you.
Your time is censored too. Your amount of time is now censored.
Well, maybe that's what they're trying to tell us now. So maybe our time is coming near. So maybe everybody needs to share this. We don't know what we're going to be censored from next. That may sound like a theory, and it's not a fear factor. That is the truth, because we're shadow banned on many channels. So if nobody shares, nobody comments, nobody shares into groups, that actually helps, believe it or not, or just share privately. Feel free to mirror this video. You don't have to even ask me. If you'll tell me that you're mirroring it, I'll actually come on and comment, let people know where we are. And then, yeah. And I'm going to ask, if you do mirror it, please make sure that you copy and paste the Give, Send, Go. I'm going to put that in the comments too, or in the description box. So please make sure that you include that information, because we have a lot of people that it looks like are trying to collect on Meghan's behalf. There is only one Give, Send, Go, and there is only one Zelle directly to her attorney. And she does need to be able to raise quite a bit of money in the next couple of weeks in order to pay for things that are due, and Meghan, I'm really sorry for everything that's like hit you like a ton of bricks, especially considering, girl, you just had a baby.
I did, and they had me in court twice the same week physically after I have a baby, which is, again, I can't make sense of people who say they know what they're doing in collect taking oaths and children and salaries. So, but I can't thank you enough. And yeah, I mean, we can do this. We really can. And the people have really supported. And, you know, this is a very heavy-hearted topic and situation. But, you know, I do want to say, like I've always said, there are better ways. There is a really bright side to this on the other side. Once people can truly change and realize the perspective of how this is happening and what it really is, sadly. But, you know, we can do this, and we're coming together, and people are realizing, and children are coming home, and people are being held accountable. So, you know, your support is invaluable. Prayers, of course. And I just say God bless to everyone that's getting involved in this, because this is a purpose here, you know, and we really can do great things. We have a lot of children and you know, to bring home and hearts to mend. So thank you again, Christy. Always thank you.
You've definitely got the dream lawyer. That's all I can say.
Amen. We prayed for her here.
And you know what I love about Hollis is when I go to her and say somebody's commented this, she's like, hey, can you talk to them? Can you find out? Like, nothing is beyond, you know, she's not beyond hearing anything.
She knows what we're dealing with. She understands, and she has not been afraid. I can't tell you the amount of lawyers.
Many people are saying she needs to get a new lawyer. Many people are saying she needs to get a new lawyer, and I'm like, well, she has.
Yes. And finally, I mean, that's again what it is. And that's another thing when we start educating people about the system. And if you want to educate yourself, you will see that that is a very common issue with the court appointed attorneys, or even having representation, sadly. So I did have attorneys. I did get new ones. Ones were assigned and immediately begged to be recused, because they don't want any part of this, you know, injury to these children and this exposure of the system. So there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and we know the bigger picture, and we just need to really get my children home and protected so that we can start moving forward towards the right change and positive changes within the system.
Amen. We're going to make it happen. Well, everybody, please make sure that you hit the description below. If you have any questions, or if you have ideas, we are reading the comments. I'm taking them back to Hollis. And I really thank you for, you know, just being here and listening. Please do make sure that you share this video. And you may also want to share the Nicholas Benyamin video as well, because that actually has the allegations in there. And we actually talk about different things that every mom should know in that video. So do make sure that you watch it, listen, share, like, subscribe, all those things, because we never know when we're going to be censored.
There are a lot of things that get said about CPS. We know about the Clintons' involvement in CPS. We know about programs being started up. We know about, you know, the racket of the foster care system and the adoption system. And we know about the abuse that happens in some of these homes. And we hear some of the stories that the fake press allows us to hear. But what's really underneath the skin, the rind of that orange, is rotten, and it stinks. And I wanted to go right after it. So we just started inviting guests on. We asked people on my Telegram channel. We asked people on the show, if you have personal experience with CPS, we want to hear from you. And I mean, we have thousands of emails, and trying to vet the stories and go through them, I could have a 24-hour show and be broadcasting nothing but horrific CPS tragedies. And we would be broadcasting around the clock. And I would still have people left over waiting in line to talk. I mean, we've had whistleblowers that transport, you know, kids that have been trafficked into this foster and adoption care system. It's absolutely horrible. And the further that we dug, the more disgusting it was. And that's when the film crew, the film division, Matthew Scow and Nicholas Stumphauser, two award-winning documentarians. I couldn't be more blessed than to have them with us. I mean, they're the world's greatest documentarians. Nicholas Stumphauser brought you Watch the Water, which was a global success. You know, it opened up research into things that people weren't even thinking about before. It was labeled a conspiracy theorist. And now look, everybody's talking about snake venom peptides. Everybody's acknowledging that the peptides are everywhere. There's venomous peptides from German hedgehogs in these stupid shots. The spike proteins are different than they are in the virus itself. And so it was a smashing success that's been viewed well over 10 million times. And I think this one is going to absolutely blow that out of the water, because these people, Pete, have been trying to gaslight us for years. They've been trying to gaslight us into thinking that we're crazy. Think about it. Wayfair, thousands of missing children every single year. The Clinton emails, blackmail and secret societies with the elites. People who speak out are being mysteriously disappeared and suicided or murdered. Satanic ritual abuse, child trafficking in the United States. It's all happening. And these little ones is the throbbing middle finger right in their face, showing that we absolutely know what these people have done. We aren't crazy. We are going to expose it, all of it. And we're going to make all those connections in this documentary. This is real life.
Welcome back. Okay. Everyone on the live stream has known about this. I announced it at the beginning of the show for the live show viewers. Those that are going to catch this special segment, it's very, very important, the information I'm about to share with you, including the story where I said, never again am I going to get caught off guard. But that much life-changing information on the Stu Peters show. I'm a big fan of his show. I've learned a lot from the Stu Peters show. He's a truth teller, truth seeker, and his guests. And then I watched the Dr. Artist documentary, and I said, whoa! And I literally spent like an entire week. It changed my life. And I said, where did that come from? And Stu Peters brought that to us fearlessly. Snake venom peptides. I mean, seriously, I'm not even going to spin off on a tangent like that, but it was life-changing and it's world-changing. Even to this day, people getting educated. So then I found out from the Stu Peters show that there's a new documentary coming out. And I said, oh, no. Not again. That's not going to happen again. I'm going to bring Stu Peters on this time. I'm going to grab the Pete Santilli show hook and bring him in. And I'm going to tell you why this documentary is so important by playing you the trailer. And then that's going to set us off on our short conversation and an announcement here as to what Stu Peters has done to prepare this. So you guys stay right there and listen to this.
In this country, we've been given narratives for a long time, and it's time for truth. And the victims need to be able to speak out and be heard and believed. And these issues are mostly dealing with children. This is SRA.
I'm a satanic ritual abuse survivor. The Christian church says all the time that they fight an enemy, but I don't think they're aware of how organized and strategic the enemy that they're fighting is. That there is a intentional plan to break their children. An entire war for their offspring.
This is a spiritual war for our children. They are abducting our children, selling our children, murdering and sacrificing our children.
Through the centuries, we know that child sacrifice persisted for long periods of time in different cultures. So why are we naive enough to think that it's not persisting and continuing today?
They're sacrificing children at Planned Parenthood, right? And then they're taking the body parts out and reselling them.
Planned Parenthood is accused of some disturbing crimes today.
That's going on overtly now. But back in the day, they were literally passing through the hands of Moloch.
This is a spiritual battle. This is not new. What is child trafficking? Child trafficking is when you kidnap a child for profit.
Recommendations on my list: abolish the federal and state financial incentives that have turned Child Protective Services into a business that separates families for money.
I will step out.
Get out of the car.
We have had several clients come that were trafficked and transported through Child Protective Services and foster care systems.
People that speak out like I do.
These people are pedophiles and involved in the pedophile networks, some of which I've gotten very close to.
Are all facing retaliation.
I don't think that Isaac walked up on that bridge and jumped.
Isaac Kathy out of New Mexico.
This will likely be my last broadcast.
So Stu Peters, I tell you, I've left you alone. You're doing God's work. You're doing great work. Your show's exploding from all of the right reasons, of course, delivering the truth. And I said, enough is enough. I'm bringing him on the show. I want to thank you for everything you've done. That right there, you're now in the engine room of the Death Star. You've worked towards this moment to expose this particular topic, haven't you?
You know, this kind of started, Pete, when first of all, thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
This really started when we heard the story of baby Cyrus. And baby Cyrus came on our show. I interviewed his grandfather, Diego Rodriguez. Because of the pressure, the public pressure, combined with the show, and of course, combined with what Ammon Bundy was doing, and combined with, you know, the grassroots support for that, it ended up that baby Cyrus was released back to the parents, but they were still battling a court case with CPS. And when we went out to Idaho in support of the then candidate for governor, Janice McGeehan, right at the moment that we were there in Idaho, where baby Cyrus happens to be, I wanted to sit down with that family, shake their hand, talk to them a little bit. There was a gag order on Cyrus's mom, and CPS wouldn't let them talk. The judge wouldn't let them talk, which immediately just sets you off. Anytime that somebody is being silenced like that, anytime that speech is being suppressed, immediately you know, hey, there's something a little bit more to this. And at the very moment, Pete, that we were there talking to them, they got a phone call from CPS, from their attorney rather, that the CPS people had dropped their case against them and that baby Cyrus was theirs to keep forever, his rightful parent, who he was going to be with. And at that moment, I looked at Lauren Witzke, who's the executive producer of the Stu Peters Show, and I said, look, we have to dig into who are these CPS people. We have to really figure out what is going on with CPS. And as you know, Pete, I mean, there are a lot of things that get said about CPS. We know about the Clintons' involvement in CPS. We know about programs being started up. We know about, you know, the racket of the foster care system and the adoption system. And we know about the abuse that happens in some of these homes. And we hear some of the stories that the fake press allows us to hear. But what's really underneath the skin, the rind of that orange, is rotten and it stinks. And I wanted to go right after it. So we just started inviting guests on. We asked people on my Telegram channel, we asked people on the show, if you have personal experience with CPS, we want to hear from you. And I mean, we have thousands of emails, and trying to vet the stories and go through them, I could have a 24-hour show and be broadcasting nothing but horrific CPS tragedies. And we would be broadcasting around the clock. And I would still have people left over waiting in line to talk. I mean, we've had whistleblowers that transport, you know, kids that have been trafficked into this foster and adoption care system. It's absolutely horrible. And the further that we dug, the more disgusting it was. And that's when the film crew, the film division, Matthew Scow and Nicholas Stumphauser, two award-winning documentarians. I couldn't be more blessed than to have them with us. I mean, they're the world's greatest documentarians. Nicholas Stumphauser brought you Watch the Water, which was a global success. You know, it opened up research into things that people weren't even thinking about before. It was labeled a conspiracy theorist. And now look, everybody's talking about snake venom peptides. Everybody's acknowledging that the peptides are everywhere. There's venomous peptides from German hedgehogs in these stupid shots. The spike proteins are different than they are in the virus itself. And so it was a smashing success that's been viewed well over 10 million times. And I think this one is going to absolutely blow that out of the water, because these people, Pete, have been trying to gaslight us for years. They've been trying to gaslight us into thinking that we're crazy. Think about it. Wayfair, thousands of missing children every single year. The Clinton emails, blackmail and secret societies with the elites. People who speak out are being mysteriously disappeared and suicided or murdered. Satanic ritual abuse, child trafficking in the United States. It's all happening. And these little ones is the throbbing middle finger right in their face, showing that we absolutely know what these people have done. We aren't crazy. We are going to expose it, all of it. And we're going to make all those connections in this documentary. This is real life.
Yeah, real life. And we have limited time and you're super busy. I know that. And that's why I've literally not insisted on bringing you on. But this is so important that we learn, our listening audience, what we did with Dr. Artis' documentary with Stu Peters, We share that thing like crazy. And even the people that have done experiments on the snake venom peptides probably didn't realize what their work was for. Those people even woke up. So our work in relaying this, it was so critical. That was a practice run, because this right here, I believe, is the biggest crime being perpetrated upon humanity. This child sex trafficking and what are the other stuff that they're doing that we can factualize, we're starting to discover. You're opening this up to the biggest topic globally, I believe. And it's up to us to get the information out. Not even the mainstream. The mainstream media is not going to cover it, but independent media isn't going to have the capacity to cover it responsibly, are they?
They're going to stay as far away from this thing as possible. They're going to do everything in the world to try to discredit it. They're going to try to discredit me. They're going to try to discredit the platform. They're going to point to how I was kicked off of Spotify and kicked off of YouTube and kicked off of Twitter for quote unquote COVID misinformation, dangerous rhetoric. My name was being tossed around in a congressional hearing today and yesterday. Roger Stone was testifying before the select committee, the unselect committee that wasn't selected by any of the taxpayers, this sham impeachment committee, throwing my name around, talking about indictments because I spoke at some event. Apparently, speaking in front of a group of thousands of young Christians who support, the America First agenda has now become sedition, or I'm trying to overthrow the government. They're talking about Russian disinformation. That's what they said about Watch the Water. Joe Rogan called me an agent of Russian disinformation. I mean, how dare he? This is the guy who bent a knee and bent over and took it up the tailpipe so that he could have $30 million a year contracts with Spotify. These people are all about the money. They're all about social control. They're all about clicks and likes and ratings. They're all part of the same elite group of, elites in this country that care nothing about our children. And if we can't fight for our kids in this country, then what the hell are we actually doing?
Oh, if that doesn't energize everybody to get up off their butts, because, are we going to fight for a flag or dirt or whatever? If we don't fight right now and take a stand, and I say fight, but don't take me out of context, to stand, and they would want to kill us to stop us. Isaac Cappy is an example of that. They want to kill us, stand and fight for the future of our children, then nothing will energize us. But Stu Peters, I wanted to bring you on, set this off, and I want you to give our listening audience, you have carte blanche. You give us marching orders as to what we need to do to grab this thing and share it like we've never shared anything before. Your text alert, these little ones is coming out. How do we stay informed, and what do we need to do? What marching orders do you want to give our audience?
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, it's coming out when it does. We'll have announcements all over the place. I hope, Pete, that you will help us to get the message out when we have this thing in final cut and we're ready to go with it. We have to cross every T, we have to dot every I, put the little squiggly thing on every Q. You know what I mean? Because we have to make sure that this is airtight. And actually, as we're producing this in final, we're getting so much more, corroborating evidentiary support to everything that we're reporting on that's in this documentary. It's going to turn your stomach. It's going to be really difficult to watch. This is the kind of news that people don't want to hear about, but this is exactly what we need to do. Isaac Cappy, he didn't jump off of that bridge. We talked to people who were with him just moments before that happened. We talked to the last people that were with Isaac Cappy. He was not suicidal. He wasn't jumping off of any bridge. You know that. He said, this might be my last broadcast. This will likely be my last broadcast. Well, you know what? These little ones is not going to be my last broadcast. These people aren't going to have an easy time getting rid of me because I have all of you, Pete, your listening audience, my listening audience. There's nothing that they can do to silence this. And that's right. Risk your social media platforms to share this thing everywhere.
Yes. And go ahead.
No, I mean, honestly, like bootleg it, screen record it, put it on BitChute, put it on Facebook, put it all over be able to get rid of it because it will be everywhere. It'll be viral so fast. And people are just going to see. They're going to learn exactly who's involved. Whatever happened at Pizzagate? Why did Hillary Clinton say that she was going to sacrifice a chicken in her backyard to mullet? What is adrenochrome? What is frazzle drip? Why did 9 out of the 12 people that viewed the contents of Anthony Weiner's laptop commit suicide? Are we really supposed to believe all of this? Are we supposed to believe that all of this is a figment of our imagination, that all of these are coincidences? Why do these people keep getting away with this? Well, they're not anymore. We're calling them out on the carpet. We're shining a big, bright light on their darkness, and we're calling out this corruption, and we're going to end this crap once and for all. There needs to be a complete rethink about what we do with children in this country, and this is going to spawn that rethink. No
There's
doubt.
Any final comment here, and I want you to put a message out to the Federal Bureau of Covering Up Child Sex Trafficking, the FBI themselves. Do you remember Ted Gunderson? Have you ever listened to Ted Gunderson, the Franklin scandal? That's when I set off on learning about the magnitude of the system that has been in place for many, many years. These are evil Satanists. These are evil satanic criminal crime syndicate that is now profiting bigger than the drug trafficking industry. And we need to stop them and to also shut down their little army known as the FBI as part of the cover-up.
Child sex trafficking is the largest industry across the entire globe right now.
Stu Peters.
Billions of dollars.
I'm telling you, whether or not you're on the show, we got your back. We're going to share like crazy. We relay your information. I appreciate the work you're doing. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be with us. Thank you. All right. Yep. Thank you, sir. Be well. Stay prayerful. All right.
Wow. You feel a passion with Stu Peters. He appears to be coming out, like he could. But, we've been doing this a very long time. Child trafficking is, how long has it been in the mainstream? Since Donald Trump told everybody, or was it Pizzagate and Hillary scam that brought it all in? It's all just fear-based, trauma-based mind control. They don't care how much they slap you in the face with it. You're not going to want to deal with it. You're not going to want to deal with looking at all the dead children, just page after page after page after page after page of dead children. You don't want to deal with it. You can't handle it. You can't go down the hole. We need to be in the trench dealing with this straight up. Thank you, Stu Peters, and we'll try to. The name of this thing is These Little Ones. You can find it. Go to rumble.com, type in These Little Ones. It goes over some things. It's it could be better, but it's something, and it is getting a lot of attention, and that's what we need. All eyes on foster care murders, adoption murders, adoption strangles, adoption dead bodies just coming out of the like a can of worms of death, beatings, strangulations, body slams, sodomization, strangulation, broken necks, missing body parts, autopsy. 5 black kids go off a cliff coming from Oregon on the California coast, supposedly running. 5 black kids. Where's the who's that black attorney that likes to show up at all the hot spots, right? Clove. Where's the NAACP? Where's the Black Caucus? How could these 2 lesbian white women have all these black kids and running off cliffs? Just you don't know what to believe. A lot of it's sensationalism, propaganda. They will put it out in your face. Feel the passion, feel the moment. Know that people are tired. We're in the trench. It's coming down with all this destabilization, all this fear factor, all the fear mongering, all the government takeover. Intrusion, medical control. We got rulers out there and they're just kicking our ass, and we have all this technology at our hands. Please try to share this content. Support Stu Peters, support the CPS News Network if you can. All of these children murdered, beaten, brothers in the house, brothers getting re-trafficked. Most horrific crimes ever imaginable are happening. Foster care, adoption, hold all foster parents complicit with child trafficking, period. This is a state of war. We call it out for what it is. No constitution. What a farce. We need a humanitarian rights legislation, human rights legislation. Screw the Constitution. What a freaking lie. It ain't holding any water. That's how they're doing this. Been doing it for decades, running over the so-called quack Constitution. A lot of people just the foster war. Foster parents. If you know foster parents, tell them get out of the business, because the families are coming. We're not going to forget you. We're not going to forget that you disobeyed the order of the foster war to surrender children. Get out of the business. Find something else to do. You're not helping anything. You're contributing to a child traffic ring. Look at these boys. Look at this actual picture. Grooming, using these boys in horrific movies. The agenda, the grooming. Nothing matters. We see it constantly. The sodomizers, the agenda, the the horrific crimes, bodies falling from the ceiling, and adopters getting money for a year, collecting what 20, 30,000 off this child while she's dead in the attic, decomposing in 140-degree attic, rapid decomposition, firemen fire poking the ceiling, bones are falling down, children in cages only getting 2 years in prison. There's just so much to talk about. Get a hold of Stu Peters, tell him about the CPS News Network. But there's only one way to come in at this, and it's straight up hardcore smackdown. Call everybody out, one side or the other. There's no good anything until this is stopped, until there's human rights, until they stop trafficking, sex trafficking, horrific using foster kids as patsies, drugging them, strip clubs in foster homes, murders in foster home driveways, bodies being removed, and children's foster kids stay in the house at a strip club. Paris, California, same home of the Turpin clan. What's going on with the Turpins? Turpins being trafficked, sex trafficked, abused, tortured. What's worse, the parents or the traffickers? The CPS system never worked. All children to be in one place, one time. Nancy Schaefer resource centers nationwide, very simple. They need protections. They need to be in drug-free environments with the best the earth has to offer, and not with strangers. It never worked, never designed to work. The horrific crimes, the dead in a van behind her house, and they're going down the street acting like they're looking for him. 2 kids cooked in a car, didn't want to watch him. All reports of abuse, the drug use. It's working perfectly. Never designed to work. It's a simple war. Black and white. Windows nailed shut. Sign: can't open window. Mom nailed it shut. Asking for food and money with a sign in the window. Adopted kids. Natalie Finn starved to death in her sister's arms, lips turning purple. Sister said she knew that was a turning point in her life. But you better take some deep frickin' breaths. Find the momentum. Know that it's all out here. We have the tools to fix this. We have to get the foster parents to surrender kids in mass. There's a foster care crisis nationwide for foster parents. They can't recruit them fast enough. The machine is, there's a kink in the machine. It's stuttering. The wheels are spinning. With blood flying up in the air, but there's kinks in it. You can hear it rattling. There's a pressure point. They cannot continue to do these war crimes in volume, in scale. 500,000 children in foster care, 500,000 in foster care. This boy, 7 million paid out to the family of this boy. She had 4 foster kids there. This one's dead, beat by her domestic violence. Whatever that shouldn't have been there. Had domestic violence case against her, had a restraining order against him. He comes in and look what happened to little Aid. Oh, pay out $6 million. The money's going out left and right. 7.5 million, San Bernardino County. 7.5 million, San Bernardino. For what? What they do? Placing a foster child sex offender with other foster kids. 7.5 million. This is a money racket. This is a bar association. This is money laundering, blood laundering, child laundering, heart laundering, soul laundering, spirit laundering, humanity laundering for money by the bar association. The attorneys are all over it like saps. None of them want to fix anything. None of them want to, this is a machine. It's working perfectly. Bleed the system, set kids up for failure, get the cases going, get the abuse going, lawsuits going, out of court settlements going. Again, 7.5 million just recently, San Bernardino County. We need you to come on fire. Come on fire. Please try to share our content. Constant censorship. FB's all behind this censorship for doing the greatest work you could ever do. Lots of great talk with Pete Santilli and Stu Peters. Great talk, conversation about the worst thing that is happening in America right now. And you're looking at it right here. Who's behind it? Every cop, every social worker, every politician, every public quack servant, every pastor who's not talking about it, every one of you out there that's not engaged with us and saying, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's move in. Foster War 2022, Operation Shutdown. There's only one cure. Going to play out this video over again. Thank you all. It's a struggle to get viewership, but let's keep it going. Big weekend, big time of year, 9/3/2022. We're going to continue back with the video. Stand by. God.
We have to dig into who are these CPS people. We have to really figure out what is going on with CPS. And as you know, Pete, I mean, there are a lot of things that get said about CPS. We know about the Clintons' involvement in CPS. We know about programs being started up. We know about, the racket of the foster care system and the adoption system. And we know about the abuse that happens in some of these homes. And we hear some of the stories that the fake press allows us to hear. But what's really underneath the skin, the rind of that orange, is rotten and it stinks. And I wanted to go right after it. So we just started inviting guests on. We asked people on my Telegram channel, we asked people on the show, if you have personal experience with CPS, we want to hear from you. And I mean, we have thousands of emails, and trying to vet the stories and go through them, I could have a 24-hour show and be broadcasting nothing but horrific CPS tragedies. And we would be broadcasting around the clock. And I would still have people left over waiting in line to talk. I mean, we've had whistleblowers that transport, kids that have been trafficked into this foster and adoption care system. It's absolutely horrible. And the further that we dug, the more disgusting it was. And that's when the film crew, the film division, Matthew Scow and Nicholas Stumphauser, two award-winning documentarians. I couldn't be more blessed than to have them with us. I mean, they're the world's greatest documentarians. Nicholas Stumphauser brought you Watch the Water, which was a global success. It opened up research into things that people weren't even thinking about before. It was labeled a conspiracy theorist. And now look, everybody's talking about snake venom peptides. Everybody's acknowledging that the peptides are everywhere. There's venomous peptides from German hedgehogs in these stupid shots. The spike proteins are different than they are in the virus itself. And so it was a smashing success that's been viewed well over 10 million times. And I think this one is going to absolutely blow that out of the water, because these people, Pete, have been trying to gaslight us for years. They've been trying to gaslight us into thinking that we're crazy. Think about it. Wayfair, thousands of missing children every single year. The Clinton emails, blackmail and secret societies with the elites. People who speak out are being mysteriously disappeared and suicided or murdered. Satanic ritual abuse, child trafficking in the United States. It's all happening. And these little ones is the throbbing middle finger right in their face, showing that we absolutely know what these people have done. We aren't crazy. We are going to expose it, all of it. And we're going to make all those connections in this documentary. This is real life.
Okay, you can remember Freddie Laster, foster child, found in a dumpster, separated body parts in a bag. His killer, this is killer coming out of Florida. Again, possible serial killer, Florida. I can't think of his name right now. Possibly involved in these other two boys near the same area. Same area within 2 miles. These boys go missing. I can't think of his name right now. He's probably right here. Stand by. But famous case, and famous that it's out of Florida, that we possibly have a serial foster killer, and that John Walsh never suspected this guy. The reverend, the church pastor, the youth counselor, serial killer, child porn creator. The boys that went missing in Florida, just a famous case, how Freddie Laster could go missing. Freddie Laster here could go missing. 2 weeks later, body found in dumpster, and they can't make a connection. That's Florida. That's the cover up. Here's Freddie Laster here. And then these two boys missing the same area, but they can't make the body connection to Freddie Laster for 20 years. Took them 20 years as this guy ran free for a dismemberment, murder, dumped in a dumpster body of Freddie Laster, and they couldn't make the connection. It's impossible for them not to make that connection. Florida, missing foster kid, body in a dumpster. These two boys missing. What's going on in Florida? This is all typical exploitation. Florida, the John Walsh connection, Florida, National Center, Florida. Who is it? Trump, Florida, Freemason, Florida, Epstein, Florida, Florida, just a cesspool. But just one, what a great case to highlight Freddie Laster. murder, dumped in a dumpster for 20 years. They couldn't make the connection. They can make the connection. They have the power to make the connection. High level police officers involved. With this, they know everything. The National Center Missing and Exploited, they know everything that's going on with foster kids. We're going to go back to this video. Sorry to interrupt it. I'm going to let it go back, but yeah, just had to bring up Freddie Laster because he's just a innocent child, trafficked, foster care, murdered and dismembered, dumped. Case not solved for 20 years. Stand by.
To speak out and be heard and believed. And these issues are mostly dealing with children. This is SRA.
I'm a satanic ritual abuse survivor. The Christian church says all the time that they fight an enemy, but I don't think they're aware of how organized and strategic the enemy that they're fighting is. That there is a intentional plan to break their children. An entire war for their offspring.
This is a spiritual war for our children. They are abducting our children, selling our children, murdering and sacrificing our children.
Through the centuries, we know child sacrifice persisted for long periods of time in different cultures. So why are we naive enough to think that it's not persisting and continuing today?
They're sacrificing children at Planned Parenthood, right? And then they're taking the body parts out and reselling them.
Planned Parenthood is accused of some disturbing crimes today.
That's going on overtly now. But back in the day, they were literally passing through the hands of Moloch.
This is a spiritual battle. This is not new. What is child trafficking? Child trafficking is when you kidnap a child for profit.
Recommendations on my list: abolish the federal and state financial incentives that have turned child protective services into a business that separates families for money.
I will step out. Get out of the car. We have had several clients come that were trafficked and transported through child protective services and foster care systems.
People that speak out like I do.
These people are pedophiles and involved in pedophile networks, some of which I've gotten very close to.
Are all facing retaliation.
I don't think that Isaac walked up on that bridge and jumped.
Isaac Cassidy out of New Mexico.
This will likely be my last broadcast.
So Stu Peters, I tell you, I've left you alone. You're doing God's work. You're doing great work. Your show's exploding from all of the right reasons, of course, delivering the truth. And I said, enough is enough. I'm bringing him on the show. I want to thank you for everything you've done. That right there, you're now in the engine room of the Death Star. You've worked towards this moment to expose this particular topic, haven't you?
You know, this kind of started, Pete, when first of all, thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
This really started when we heard the story of baby Cyrus. And baby Cyrus came on our show. I interviewed his grandfather, Diego Rodriguez. Because of the pressure, the public pressure, combined with the show, and of course, combined with what Ammon Bundy was doing, and combined with, the grassroots support for that, it ended up that baby Cyrus was released back to the parents, but they were still battling a court case with CPS. And when we went out to Idaho in support of the then candidate for governor, Janice McGeehan, right at the moment that we were there in Idaho, where baby Cyrus happens to be, I wanted to sit down with that family, shake their hand, talk to them a little bit. There was a gag order on Cyrus's mom, and CPS wouldn't let them talk. The judge wouldn't let them talk, which immediately just sets you off. Anytime that somebody is being silenced like that, anytime that speech is being suppressed, immediately hey, there's something a little bit more to this. And at the very moment, Pete, that we were there talking to them, they got a phone call from CPS, from their attorney rather, that the CPS people had dropped their case against them and that baby Cyrus was theirs to keep forever, his rightful parent who he was going to be with. And at that moment, I looked at Lauren Witzke, who's the executive producer of the Stu Peters show, and I said, look, we have to dig into who are these CPS people. We have to really figure out what is going on with CPS. And as you know, Pete, I mean, there are a lot of things that get said about CPS. We know about the Clintons' involvement in CPS. We know about programs being started up. We know about, the racket of the foster care system and the adoption system. And we know about the abuse that happens in some of these homes. And we hear some of the stories that the fake press allows us to hear. But what's really underneath the skin, the rind of that orange, is rotten and it stinks. And I wanted to go right after it. So we just started inviting guests on. We asked people on my Telegram channel. We asked people on the show, if you have personal experience with CPS, we want to hear from you. And I mean, we have thousands of emails, and trying to vet the stories and go through them, I could have a 24-hour show and be broadcasting nothing but horrific CPS tragedies. And we would be broadcasting around the clock. And I would still have people left over waiting in line to talk. I mean, we've had whistleblowers that transport, kids that have been trafficked into this foster and adoption care system. It's absolutely horrible. And the further that we dug, the more disgusting it was. And that's when the film crew, the film division, Matthew Scow and Nicholas Stumphauser, two award-winning documentarians. I couldn't be more blessed than to have them with us. I mean, they're the world's greatest documentarians. Nicholas Stumphauser brought you Watch the Water, which was a global success. It opened up research into things that people weren't even thinking about before. It was labeled a conspiracy theorist. And now look, everybody's talking about snake venom peptides. Everybody's acknowledging that the peptides are everywhere. There's venomous peptides from German hedgehogs in these stupid shots. The spike proteins are different than they are in the virus itself. And so it was a smashing success that's been viewed well over 10 million times. And I think this one is going to absolutely blow that out of the water, because these people, Pete, have been trying to gaslight us for years. They've been trying to gaslight us into thinking that we're crazy. Think about it. Wayfair, thousands of missing children every single year. The Clinton emails, blackmail and secret societies with the elites. People who speak out are being mysteriously disappeared and suicided or murdered. Satanic ritual abuse, child trafficking in the United States. It's all happening. And these little ones is the throbbing middle finger right in their face, showing that we absolutely know what these people have done. We aren't crazy. We are going to expose it, all of it. And we're going to make all those connections in this documentary. This is real life.
Yeah, real life. And we have limited time, and you're super busy. I know that. And that's why I've literally not insisted on bringing you on. But this is so important that we learn, our listening audience, what we did with Dr. Artis' documentary, with Stu Peters. We share that thing like crazy. And even the people that have done experiments on the snake venom peptides probably didn't realize what their work was for. Those people even woke up. So our work in relaying this, it was so critical. That was a practice run, because this right here, I believe, is the biggest crime being perpetrated upon humanity. This child sex trafficking and what are the other stuff that they're doing that we can factualize, we're starting to discover. You're opening this up to the biggest topic globally, I believe. And it's up to us to get the information out. Not even the mainstream. The mainstream media is not going to cover it, but independent media isn't going to have the capacity to cover it responsibly, are they?
They're going to stay as far away from this thing as possible. They're going to do everything in the world to try to discredit it. They're going to try to discredit me. They're going to try to discredit the platform. They're going to point to how I was kicked off of Spotify and kicked off of YouTube and kicked off of Twitter for quote unquote COVID misinformation, dangerous rhetoric. My name was being tossed around in a congressional hearing today and yesterday. Roger Stone was testifying before the select committee, the unselect committee that wasn't selected by any of the taxpayers, this sham impeachment committee, throwing my name around, talking about indictments because I spoke at some event. Apparently, speaking in front of a group of thousands of young Christians who support, the America First agenda has now become sedition, or I'm trying to overthrow the government. They're talking about Russian disinformation. That's what they said about Watch the Water. Joe Rogan called me an agent of Russian disinformation. I mean, how dare he? This is the guy who bent a knee and bent over and took it up the tailpipe so that he could have $30 million a year contracts with Spotify. These people are all about the money. They're all about social control. They're all about clicks and likes and ratings. They're all part of the same elite group of, elites in this country that care nothing about our children. And if we can't fight for our kids in this country, then what the hell are we actually doing?
Oh, if that doesn't energize everybody to get up off their butts, because, are we going to fight for a flag or dirt or whatever? If we don't fight right now and take a stand, and I say fight, but don't take me out of context, to stand, and they would want to kill us to stop us. Isaac Happy is an example of that. They want to kill us, stand and fight for the future of our children, then nothing will energize us. But Stu Peters.
Well, we're here live Sunday. I think it's Sunday, 9/4/2022, 3 o'clock. We see you viewers out there. Very intense documentary. It's a great documentary. Good conversation, good voice. Stu Peters, calling out these fake Joe Rogans, fake agencies, news agencies, clicks, ratings, distraction. What you're fighting for, if you're fighting for a flag, or you're fighting for some Freemason to be president from Florida, or you're fighting for a democracy. What are you really fighting for? And what are you really, what are you doing? It's like, this is the fight for humanity. This is probably the greatest last stand we're ever witnessing, as the battle for the children, battle for human rights, battle for personal rights, battle for children, families. Never in history this is a very critical moment in history because of the hyperinflation. Everything's 30% more. The out of control, basically a rigged system, out of control domination. They control everything. They know everything. The information that's out there is so powerful because how smart these people are that are behind it. That's what this Stu Peters video brings out, that there's wisdom, that these people are hyper smart. They are the occult. They know the knowledge of SRA, satanic ritual abuse, the mind, how it works, how it thinks. They're gauging everything. They're controlling everything like we've never witnessed in the history. And with the COVID shot, all that stuff, it just shows you how powerful they are. I mean, it's very clear, the collusion amongst all they're not mainstream. There's no mainstream media anymore. They won't tell you this, the death of quack stream media. It's all fragmented through social networks and emails and all these independent reporters that are blossoming. Someone was trying to put down Stu Peters, that he's a Freemason, and he's putting a light where there is none. We're going to take that light and we're going to put a magnifier on it and really drill it down. Keep those comments coming. I'm going to go to comments in about 2 seconds here. The Pope, this time of year, the admission, the foster kids. They were all foster kids housed in these mass prisons, boarding schools, and trying to put a negative light on boarding schools when they work when they're not corrupt. But the Pope, Canada, why did he just go to Canada? What happened to America? All the same churches here, all the same things done to the Indians here. Why didn't he do a world tour? Why didn't he pay compensation? Why didn't he say he's going to investigate? Why are you letting him get away with this? Why are you letting your church continue? I mean, the churches all need to shut down and separate from their 501 quack C3, money laundering, child laundering, foster adoption, trafficking, collusion. It all has to stop. All the churches need to separate from their 501c3, their agreement with the government. We really need to take the pulpit back, and it takes independence like yourself to just grab the mic, tell people to get off the podium, go pay $40 for a bullhorn, make these people uncomfortable. Like, what the hell are you doing here today? What the hell are you talking about today in church? What issue are you confronting today? What are you warning the children and families about? What's the most important issue in America? What, it's everything these churches are not talking about. They're not coordinating because they'll lose their money laundering, 50C3, they won't be able to traffic foster adoption children, get those incentives that they're all getting money. Everyone's compromised with money. Go to comments here. Big weekend. Wow. Sunday. It's for infinity. Hell is burning. Waiting. It's real. It's real. Yeah. I don't know if God's coming back. He should have came back a long time ago. There's been much more horrific crimes going on, hundreds of years ago, that would have warranted a return to stop it all. But again, trauma-based mind control. Who wrote the books? Time to rewrite the script of humanity and unplug from everything we've been taught, because it's all been poisoned. It's fascinating how smart the traffickers are, the world rulers. They hoard all the most powerful information, and they control through knowledge, and they use the most extreme wisdom, people, information, content in the world, and they wouldn't be using Satanism or ritual abuse or witchcraft or numerology if it didn't work. Let's get down to it. If it didn't work, and wow, here we go. They may be smart, but they are deceived by satanic worship. Yeah, and the consequences. Well, they know what works is what I'm trying to get across, and abuse, torture, Baphomet. They're trying to transgender everybody. They got all these trannies. We're going to go to a tranny breakdown in a little bit, where maybe later on today, where everything is deception, and the art of deception, the lies, karma, how they believe in karma, how they will tell you the truth in plain sight, and many times they do. I don't, when you say God, all these books have been written and controlled by our rulers. No different than they own Facebook, no different than they own the internet, no different than they created the internet. Every single book has been ruled by its printer. And you tell me there's a sovereign printer out there who's really in touch with what's right and what's wrong. They're not going to tell us the truth. The people that wrote the books are not going to tell us the truth. Period. They're going to litter it. They'll litter it in, but the foundation is lies, falsehoods, but they'll litter in truth with it. But you better understand, no different than who created the internet, digital media, and control it, control the internet, control censorship, control Google, created Yahoo, created all these social internet empires. It's no different than the books, the printed book. Let's get it. So it goes across the board that they've written and have instructed and put instructions and everything. They want you to think that the world is going to end. What better thing could they tell somebody? Yeah, the world's going to end. God's coming back. He's going to burn everybody who's been bad, who's been naughty, who's been nice. Isn't it related to a Santa Claus story? Here we are. Audit USPS, harvested organs. United States Postal Service. Yeah, maybe the audit all the frozen containers that they're transferring organs in. Florida, a big part of that organ harvesting epicenter. Wow, but great communication, just a big weekend, and the knowledge and that's never been out. People are getting smarter, and that's the bottom line, and they know this. That's why they came in with the bioweapon agenda, and we're going to do this. We're going to push crack. We're going to push shots. We're going to push vax. We're going to push medical. We're going to push fear. We're going to push mask, and we're going to slap you in the frickin' face, and you're going to frickin' accept it. You can see how these people think. You can actually see it. We witness it every day on the internet. How deep and powerful these people are, how they think about children, how they think about families, how they rule everything. You can see it, and nothing matters. Keep whining. you're going to get what we got to be given to you. You're going to get it because we're preparing everything. We're controlling the economy. We're controlling all politicians. We're controlling social networks. We created Facebook. We created. You can see the dark side. It's really clear, and just keep that in mind that you can see how everything is so messed up, so ass backwards, especially with this government sanctioned funded human right violations. You can see that they don't care how many die in foster care, how many murders there are, how many missing there are, how much truth they tell you. They tell you, that we did it. We did it, and hey, we're sorry, and just let me put on a bandana here, and you stupid jackasses that don't stop the train and derail it, make people uncomfortable. It's about making people uncomfortable. These people are comfortable. Can you imagine how they talk at the Vatican? Yeah, he went down there and he got away with it. He said he was sorry. No investigation, no monetary compensation, nothing. Nothing. That's how stupid these people are. They are. People are really stupid. Maybe they feel helpless, and that's what they want. They don't want an empowered, knowledgeable, enacted population. But wow, what the Pope get away with in Canada? Are we the only one calling this out? That they were pulling all the same crap here in America? Are we the only ones? Are we the only ones calling out that all these Christian Catholic churches here were doing the same shit with Indians here? And why didn't he come to the U.S.? Am I the only one doing this? Please help us. We try to network and find other knowledgeable people that talk about things the way they should be. And if you have a link or other spokesperson talking about the true what's really going on, let us know. We find them. We try to bring them to you. I'm sorry for genocide. I'm sorry for foster trafficking and just total decimation of a culture. We're sorry. And what a bunch of crap. And are you going to tell me these people didn't write the book? These people don't want to keep you in fear. These people don't that they didn't. They aren't the complete and total authors of Catholic books. That the same hands that were torturing all these children in Canada and trafficking them and murdering them and trying to basically eliminate the race. You tell me they weren't the authors of the Bible? You better start looking at who wrote what, and you have a chance to rewrite it. And we don't need. It's all about humanity. We know what humanity is, and it's. Everyone knows what's right and wrong, and no matter if they worship Satan or whatever they're doing, or however much control, they know they're working for the dark side. They know they're working for the dark side. Period. Wow, fascinating what the Pope got away with, and no, there's no hardcore rebuttal anywhere of what we witnessed and what he got away with and what should have been done. He should, and how they're a terrorist organization. He's admitted we were a terrorist war machine preying on children and a culture to decimate and break up the culture completely and maim it and cripple it and take all their land. We conducted war crimes, and they should, all their assets should be seized. All this Vatican quack Pope assets should be seized. And where's the tribunal? Because how much did he know, and when did he know it? When did this Pope know that he's the kingpin, right? So when did he know about all the? Oh, he's known for a long time. He's been told about them, how to prepare for this, what to say when you go over there, how to damage control, war control, terrorist organization cover up. I mean, it's been and they'll try to use this. It's a double-edged sword, but they will use this event to demonize people that believe in how could God be true, or look at the Vatican, look at the Pope, and just to demonize humanity and what's good and what's goodness, and which is the root of God is good. So they're going to use this like a double-edged sword and pit people against that we have a ultimate creator, and ultimate creator didn't design us for the crap that we witness, the crap that they're pulling, the hurting of children, the hurting of families, the starvation of families, the stealing of land. There's a harmony of life that is lost, and it's no different than a beehive mentality. We have a humanity mentality. There's a beehive mentality, and we're all supposed to be working towards the good of the hive. That's humanity, and as long as that's broken and crippled, they have us where they want us. I'm going to get back to the video. Any good links out there, any good reference material, we're always trying to bring it in, and we'll put it on. It's been a pleasure. CPS News Network, inbox us at our page, FB, going back to Pete Santilli and Stu Peters with some very good content. Foster War 2022 Operation Shutdown. We have to get it shut down, and everything that's happening. I mean, let's do another comparison. Look what the Pope did. Look what he got away with these foster home trafficking schools. They're foster homes. It was a foster care. That how big it is. He didn't come to America, and how big it is now. It's you see the size of this here. It's very easily 500 times bigger now in America, with 500,000 children in foster care, with 83% no abuse or neglect. Just whatever's written down and a judge rubber stamping it. That's 83% in foster care, don't need to be there. 500,000, do the math. And what it's doing, and all the rapes every day, all the strangulations, all the beatings. Let's show some of those faces of those kids. I'm not sure if they're here, but wow, just it's all here. It's all here in our hands. There's an opportunity. This event, don't let the Pope get away with it. Call them out as a terrorist organization. Demand the seizure of their assets, and that they need to be shut down. And these people, there needs to be trials for all these people. What did you know, and when did you know, and why didn't you do something? And can you imagine the trials of the Pope? The Pope's on trial. He's on trial for war crimes. When did you know, and when did you know it? Well, I knew for probably 30 years that I was part of a war machine against the natives in North America and Canada. He knew this for 30 years, and he didn't do anything. So should he be held complicit? How long did he know? 40 years, 30 years, 50 years? How long did he know about the war crimes in Canada? And when should he have done something? And what should he have done when he went down there to Canada? He should have, said, we're giving. He should have kissed. He should have kicked down. I mean, it was a war. All sorts of land should have been forfeited. Land, property, valuables, and they should have tried to reconstruct the beehive of the Native Americans that they disrupted. Going to comments. Hold, accountable, mandate, healthcare. Yeah, okay, healthcare workers. Yeah, concerned about them, concerned about the healthcare workers. Stupid, maybe, but evil, and getting away with it. HHS, Health and Human Services. Yeah, concerned about the shot, what was in it. Watch the water with Stu Peters. Was it now steak venom and the polypeptides or whatever it is? And it's probably a little bit of everything. Graphene oxide, peptide, anything that's poisonous, slam them. Lead, particulates, anything that's poison, put it in their system. We'll have them so confused. We'll put a little bit of that, a little bit of this, but that organ failure. CFR, the Pratt House, New York. The poor child. That pic is so disgusting. Yeah, which pic is that, Kate? if you can give me a basic idea, I'll try to put it back up. We got some good freaking pictures. Oh, we got the best pictures. Oh, well, some of them we try to gather them, and it's like, you know, why let it go? Don't let the evidence slip. Don't let the censorship make you think that we're weak. You see, we have like 6 viewers right now. Doesn't mean anything. That, you know, we'll be replaying this, but that, you know, times of day. I mean, who wants to be doing this? And, you know, much funner things to be doing. But this is just a great time to hopefully get some people's attention and get some perspective out there as they digest this content. And see what picture is probably the worst picture. But this picture right here, all these Indian children. Oh, this picture here, we found Talia Palmer. Yeah, very powerful image there. Horrific war crimes against her. What a freaking weekend. Little girl and the Pope. Got it. Yeah, this one now. Before this one now, banned. Yeah, this little girl here. Before this one, the one with the Pope. We know why is no one saying that they're a war? They're a war. They've committed war crimes. We need to find all the people that were in power, and they're likely still in power, right? People that were involved in I think it went on since 70 till about 72, 74, somewhere in there, these boarding homes. So why are we not looking for the criminals that were behind this? And if they're still there and seize assets, why is Canada not seizing these assets? Shouldn't Canada move in? The government saying, yeah, we're taking all the Vatican's property over here in Canada. Yeah, we're giving it back to the Indians. We're going to try to put their beehive back together. Wow. Oh, powerful imagery. But again, they use it. Yeah, and they do that on purpose, okay? They're going to do that on purpose to demonize Christianity or Catholic or anybody who's religious, anybody who believes in God. They're going to create pictures like this. They'll put a pedophile in there. I don't know if he is or not, but who he works for, he knows who he works for. It's all compromised. So they're going to put a picture out there like this for a reason to inflame. They love to inflame people, get people triggered, and they don't care how much blood is flying right in front of us. Doesn't matter, because that's part of their agenda too, to keep you traumatized, keep you mad, keep you triggered. That's all part of the mind control. Get angry. We don't care we like angry people. We like people distracted, having to deal with us. Because what other, if they're dealing with us, they're at war. If they're talking about what's going on here, talking about all these entities of kidnapping child, we're in a state of war. What better place to put people if you want to control them? Put them in war. Have them having to deal with crimes against humanity. Keep them angry. Keep them frustrated. Keep them crippled. Keep them broken. Keep them crying. That's all part of the program too. That's why they don't care. Nobody freaking cares. Trauma-based mind control and keep you distracted, keep you angry, keep you triggered, keep you heartbroken, keep you in anguish, keep you in fear. It all works to their benefit. Wow. Back to the video. Stand by.
I wanted to bring you on, set this off, and give our listening audience You have carte blanche. You give us marching orders as to what we need to do to grab this thing and share it like we've never shared anything before. Your text alert, these little ones is coming out. How do we stay informed, and how do we, what do we need to do? What marching orders do you want to give our audience?
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, it's coming out when it does. We'll have announcements all over the place. I hope, Pete, that you will help us to get the message out when we have this thing in Final Cut and we're ready to go with it. We have to cross every T, we have to dot every I, put the little squiggly thing on every Q. You know what I mean? Because we have to make sure that this is airtight. And actually, as we're producing this in final, we're getting so much more, corroborating evidentiary support to everything that we're reporting on that's in this documentary. It's going to turn your stomach. It's going to be really difficult to watch. This is the kind of news that people don't want to hear about, but this is exactly what we need to do. Isaac Cappy, he didn't jump off of that bridge. We talked to people who were with him just moments before that happened. We talked to the last people that were with Isaac Cappy. He was not suicidal. He wasn't jumping off of any bridge. You know that. He said, this might be my last broadcast. This will likely be my last broadcast. Well, you know what? These little ones is not going to be my last broadcast. These people aren't going to have an easy time getting rid of me because I have all of you, Pete, your listening audience, my listening audience. There's nothing that they can do to silence this. And that's right. Risk your social media platforms to share this thing everywhere.
Yes. And go ahead.
No, I mean, honestly, like bootleg it, screen record it, put it on BitChute, put it on Facebook, put it all over be able to get rid of it because it will be everywhere. It'll be viral so fast. And people are just going to see. They're going to learn exactly who's involved. Whatever happened at Pizzagate? Why did Hillary Clinton say that she was going to sacrifice a chicken in her backyard to mull it? What is adrenochrome? What is frazzle drip? Why did 9 out of the 12 people that viewed the contents of Anthony Weiner's laptop commit suicide? Are we really supposed to believe all of this? Are we supposed to believe that all of this is a figment of our imagination, that all of these are coincidences? Why do these people keep getting away with this? Well, they're not anymore. We're calling them out on the carpet. We're shining a big, bright light on their darkness, and we're calling out this corruption, and we're going to end this crap once and for all. There needs to be a complete rethink about what we do with children in this country, and this is going to spawn that rethink, no doubt.
Benny, final comment here, and I want you to put a message out to the Federal Bureau of Covering Up Child Sex Trafficking, the FBI themselves. Do you remember Ted Gunderson? Have you ever listened to Ted Gunderson, the Franklin scandal? That's when I set off on learning about the magnitude of the system that has been in place for many, many years. These are evil Satanists. These are evil satanic criminal crime syndicate that is now profiting bigger than the drug trafficking industry. And we need to stop them and to also shut down their little army known as the FBI as part of the cover-up.
Child sex trafficking is the largest industry across the entire globe right now.
Stu Peters.
Billions of dollars.
I'm telling you, whether or not you're on the show, we got your back. We're going to share like crazy. We relay your information. I appreciate the work you're doing. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be with us. Thank you. All right. Yep. Thank you, sir. Be well. Stay
Stand by. We're going to these little ones as it's a hot Saturday, 1236, 9322. These little ones coming on next. Stick with us. These little ones, Stu Peters stirring the pot. Stir the pot, Stu Peters on a roll here. Stand by for a board switch up. Stand by. Let's see here. It's this one. Stop the screen. You got to share the screen. Share the screen. Stand by. Stu Peters coming on. These little ones just came out. I think it's up to 500,000 views. But wow, let's just come on fire this weekend. Share the most important content, the most important issue in America right here, right now. Safety, welfare, all children, all families, all humanity is at stake. Rolling.
Protective Services. The report cost me my Senate seat. This is not to say that there are not those children in wretched situations who need to be removed. There are, and we all agree.
If you have history in your past, you know the story of an abusive child who was saved by CPS, you can't then assume that CPS saves everybody. Who is mainly involved in CPS? Hospitals and doctors. Why? Because people trust hospitals and doctors. They shouldn't, but they do. And in the same hospital where babies are being born, same hospital babies are being kidnapped. in the same place where people are being cured of cancer, the same place people are being killed with remdesivir and ventilators. And people can't separate that because they see it all as one. Something's either all good or it's all bad.
But tonight, I'm talking about those children removed from their homes intentionally for profit.
What is child trafficking? Child trafficking is when you kidnap a child for profit. In other words, if you take a child from its family and give it to somebody else for money, that's the definition of child trafficking. But what you need to recognize is that defines what the states are doing with the federal government.
There was no order.
There doesn't have to be an order. My baby is fine.
The mommy can go without doctor's order, but not the baby.
The states are taking children, giving them to somebody else for money that they get from the federal government. That means that all 50 states are involved in government subsidized child trafficking. It's a ring. It is the largest and most pervasive child trafficking ring in the history of the world by sheer money and numbers.
Children are seized unnecessarily from their families due to the federal aid entitled the Adoption and Safe Families Act.
It was put into law in 1997 by Bill and Hillary Clinton, and I said it that way on purpose. And it is a law that literally steals money from the Social Security Fund and gives this money to the states in order to incentivize them to kidnap babies.
To receive the adoption incentives or bonuses, local CPS must have more children. They must have more merchandise to sell.
Every child, once you've added it all up, is worth approximately $1 million to the state. But we've been told that this is a $60 to $80 billion a year industry, meaning the federal government is taking $80 billion a year and giving that money to all of the 50 states to kidnap children.
Parents are victimized by the system that makes a profit for holding children longer and bonuses for not returning children to their parents.
But their own statistics state that 83% of all children who are taken by CPS, Child Protective Services, are for unsubstantiated allegations, meaning never should it have happened in the first place. So that imagine anything else in the world where you know you get it wrong 83% of the time and you admit it, but you just keep doing it.
Case workers and social workers are often guilty of fraud. They withhold and destroy evidence.
It doesn't make any logical sense as you study this all across the country, and it specifically doesn't make any sense in the case of my grandson, baby Cyrus.
Our journey began in May when Diego Rodriguez reached out to me to expose to the world what Child Protective Services was doing to his grandson, Cyrus. At the time of this interview, the parents of baby Cyrus were gagged by Judge Lori Fortier under threat of imprisonment. And after starting to dig in, we had no idea how dark and how deep the rabbit hole would go.
What is this about, sir?
So this all started when my son Cyrus was having prolonged vomiting episodes. We had taken him to many different specialists to get checked out. Nobody could seem to find out what the problem was. We had just brought Cyrus back the following week from the hospital, from the ER. He had been discharged and everything. He was doing great. And then that week we had follow-up appointments with our specialists, nurse practitioners and such.
That morning, I woke up with a sore throat, and I was gonna try to go to that weight check anyways. And my husband was like, you know what, just cancel, it's fine.
And so she called in and she asked them if we could cancel the appointment, and she was just going to reschedule for that following Monday. They didn't answer the phone, so she just left them a voicemail. And apparently 20 minutes after that, they had called CPS and reported us just for that.
And I woke up from my nap, and there was a text message from a social worker. My dad told my husband that the law enforcement had showed up at his home looking for my son and looking for us.
In the evening, my wife was feeling much better. We went and we had dinner with our friend that had already previously been scheduled.
That moment we pulled out, my sister spotted an officer, and she said, oh, look, there's a cop right there. I think he's following us. And when I looked forward, there was a second officer that turned in front of us. And immediately when that happened, I knew, okay, this is not going to be good.
The police officer said, hey, I just have a bolo out in your truck and I need to detain you until Meridian Police come.
We got a call from Meridian Police Department detectives, okay, and for whatever reason, they're looking for your truck.
And then it was just more and more and more, and pretty soon there was probably 10 to 15 police cars around, 20 different officers or so, right? The detectives came up and they told us, hey, you know, we have a CPS referral for you guys. It looks like you guys missed your appointment this morning.
Levi, didn't you step out of the car? I would like to first no, I want you to step out of the car. It's not my right to speak. Not right now, son. Get out of the damn car. Get out of the car. I'm not gonna screw around with you, okay? Get out of the car right now. Get back now. Or you're gonna go to jail.
Detained for what?
I ain't brought this school with you. You understand? Not to.
Contact me.
Felony injury to child. Get out of the car.
Hey, you can't abuse me. I'm getting out. I'm getting out. Let me get out.
For what reason? For a felony injury to a child. Okay?
And I knew what was going to happen at this point, but I didn't want to accept it.
The officers come around to my side. They open the truck door, and at this moment, when this is all happening, I remember what I prayed, and immediately I knew, I had no doubt in my mind they were going to take him, that no matter what happened, they were going to take him.
Give me the baby, okay?
I can't. Can you please help me right now? I understand. I'm in a desperate wrong right now.
We know.
I really need your help right now.
We'll give you that opportunity, okay? So we're gonna take Kim to the hospital. If you wanna go,
Can I ride with you?
Yes, you can. Tomorrow, I'll take the practice out. Can take her with you when you get in. She can get ready. Yeah. Well, no, we don't want her to know where hospital. No.
The fear that I had at that moment was like absolutely paralyzing. I don't think there were many things I wouldn't have done to keep him. And so he says, come into the ambulance with the baby. We just want to check on him. We won't separate you. You can go to the hospital with him. You can ride in the ambulance and you won't be separated. I promise you, you can trust me.
The officer told me that I could go with him in the ambulance into the hospital.
Yeah, and I don't know what was said before then. I was not a part of that conversation.
You can't take him. You can't. Guys, I can't. You understand what happens when the state takes custody of babies? I've seen this so many times. I can't be that next person.
It has been reported over and over that 6 times as many children die in foster care than in the general public. Once a child is legally kidnapped and placed in official safety, the child is far more likely to suffer abuse, including sexual molestation and or rape.
So you have one option at this point. You need to give him to the EMT, and you can go on your merry way with your friends and your family who's out there.
That's not Mary at all.
Or I remove him from you and you go to jail. You need to make that decision. You need to make it now. Yes.
I won't let him go.
Okay. Go ahead. Okay, please let him go so he does not get hurt, okay? Come here, little buddy. Okay. No, she's going to jail.
I just said I couldn't, but I let him go first.
Put your hands on your back. Okay.
And he had his hands over the EMT shoulder, like reaching out for me. They closed the ambulance door. That was the last thing I saw.
No, go in the car. In the car. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay.
No, let me say bye.
You're gonna make it worse. You're gonna make it worse.
These are crimes against humanity for financial gain. Rights are removed from parents. Human rights, civil rights, and even religious rights.
But this is a level and order of magnitude in terms of wickedness, right up there with abortion and all other great evils. Man stealing is a capital crime, meaning God says those people who kidnap or who steal other men by force are worthy of death.
These parents, trapped in the system, become like refugees. They're dazed and glazed and have no one of whom to turn. They do not know what to do, and the loss of their children is devastating.
In the middle of us being good parents, desperately trying to take care of him. Now the government's just going to step in and say, okay, you're criminals and we're taking your child from you.
After having worked in this arena for several years, I do not believe that a single child comes out whole after having been in this system. And it is a growing criminal political phenomenon spreading around the globe.
This is a spiritual battle. This is not new. This goes back thousands of years. I would say this literally goes back to the very beginning.
In order to understand this present darkness, of course, we had to uncover its origins in the past. There was no other man more qualified than biblical archaeologist Henry B. Smith, Jr. of the Associates for Biblical Research.
Archaeology is a tool that can be used properly and carefully as an apologetic resource, as an educational resource, as a biblical resource to help people understand that what we find in Holy Scripture are not stories, they're not myths. These are actual events that took place in time and space. And the sovereign God who reveals himself in Scripture has preserved these things in Scripture for us to understand human history, to understand our need for salvation, that we have a sin problem, a very wretched and deep one, that needs a redeemer. Jesus warns his hearers, and he uses this very powerful picture of putting a millstone around the neck of someone being tossed into the sea.
It would be better for them to be thrown into the sea with a millstone tied around their neck than to cause one of these little ones to stumble. So watch yourselves.
Unfortunately, in history and even in the modern day, that children are attacked, abused, and in many cases even kidnapped and murdered. One of the first passages that we see in the Old Testament is both in Leviticus 18 and 20, and it refers to what seems strange to the modern reader at first glance, is the practice of child sacrifice. Particularly, we have mentioned in these passages where God is giving absolute commands to the Israelites not to participate in the sacrifice of their children, to give them over to Molech. What we see in these warnings in the Old Testament that God is warning the Israelites are not just mere inventions. The Israelites are not just making up these gods, but they actually exist. All of it, though, involves the giving over of small children, usually very small from what we understand from the archaeological evidence, to these gods. In the book of Jeremiah, we see a mention of it that it looked like it was taking place in the valley of Hinnom, right outside the city walls of Jerusalem. What's interesting about that is eventually that place gained the name Gehenna, which Jesus uses the motif for hell. Now, when we think about the practice of child sacrifice in antiquity, people in the West often think of this as some barbaric practice of the world in the past. People kind of like want to close their eyes to the parallels that we have with the practice of abortion. The only distinction from a human standpoint that we're talking about is that the child is not born yet versus the child that's born.
63,459,781 total abortions since 1973. What if instead of sacrificing children to the sound of beating drums on blazing altars, they merely concealed themselves in discreet brick buildings with forceps and vacuum pumps? In 1984, one of the most disturbing and underreported cases of child sacrifice was discovered in a Los Angeles shipyard. In a repossessed shipping container, workers discovered over 16,500 aborted babies.
One of them fell down and hit me right in front of my feet. And it was opened up, and there it was. It was a mutilated body. And the more closer I looked at it, it was a human body. And when I came to work the following day, I saw it myself. I couldn't believe it. And it's just, just little bitty babies, just all quarter pieces. Their heads chopped off, arms, legs.
And as bizarre and demented as that sounds, in December of 2020, Indiana authorities discovered a total of 2,411 medically preserved fetal remains in the possession of Dr. Ulrich Klopfer. There seems to be no logical explanation for such a volume of deceased babies, until you learn that each one can yield thousands of dollars when sold to various institutions.
Planned Parenthood is accused of some disturbing crimes today. Anti-abortion activists released an undercover video filmed last year. It claims to show a senior official discussing how the organization sells aborted baby parts.
The value of the fetal brains alone in that container was $35 million. Yes, $35 million. The official narrative is that they were preserved due to an inability to properly dispose of them at the time of abortion. A far more reasonable conclusion is that they were moving product. In the past, sacrifices to Moloch might yield better crops or victory in battle. This evil has evolved into a capitalist enterprise where the blood of these little ones translates into millions in profit.
Perhaps the particulars have changed over time, but the spirit is still the same, and it has a thread throughout history. We're going to sacrifice this child so we can get what we want in return. So the question is Moloch being paid today? Our archaeological research shows definitively that this practice took place for over centuries. So why in the world would we think that it wouldn't persist today?
My name is Brandy Brassell. I work with Warrior Bride Ministries. We are a ministry that we minister inner healing and deliverance, but we specialize in some of the most traumatized survivors of satanic ritual abuse and human trafficking. I think that satanic ritual abuse is a lot greater and a bigger problem than most realize, and probably even myself submersed in it as I am. Every neighborhood with 250 homes in it, 14 had satanic ritual abuse taking place. We had a client come in that his grandmother had brought him in. He was, from what I understand, fairly high up in ranking in a satanic, I guess, congregation or coven. And he talked about killings and murders and rituals that he had experienced. And an army. He spoke of it like it was an army, because it is. The enemy is after our children at whatever cost and whatever avenue he can get to them at.
I'm a satanic ritual abuse survivor. The Christian church says all the time that they fight an enemy, but I don't think they're aware of how organized and strategic the enemy that they're fighting is. That there is an intentional plan to break their children. An entire war for their offspring.
The things I've heard from our survivors are the very things that you read about in Deuteronomy, with the children being passed through the fire to Moloch. It's not something new. It's been happening. It's for ages. And people want to stick their head in the sand and act like it's not happening, or this is not true, or it's made up, or it's a conspiracy. I've met too many people with the same story from different places all over the world. We've got clients in New Zealand and in Canada that tell a very similar story, and there's no way that they could have made that up. They're too similar in circumstances. The rituals are the same. The torture and the trauma is the same.
We started investigating these secret satanic cults when a British member of Parliament linked them with the ritual murder of children. In this day and age, it sounded too far-fetched, as did suggestions that the same thing might be happening in Australia. But then we met Teresa. Teresa is now 15, but at the age of 2, she was left in the care of this woman, the grandma she called Nan. And that, she says, is when her torment started.
During these ceremonies, was Satan, the devil, ever referred to?
He was called Lucifer.
What did they say about the devil, about Lucifer?
That killing the people made him happy.
Sacrifices to please the devil. According to Teresa, the worst rituals took place at a house somewhere in the country.
It was big, expensive. From the front, it looked like a castle. It had a long drive and big double wooden doors.
Do you think they were rich people then?
Very rich.
People don't understand how organized it is. There's a satanic calendar. Grand climaxes happen 4 times a year. Those are major festivals. Think of your Christmas, your Easter, big holidays. We're talking major rituals, the September marriage to the beast ceremony. And if you look at the dates, the majority of kidnappings in the United States happen a week before, because there's a preparation. Each satanic holiday requires a specific sacrifice, whether it be blood or sex or an animal, newborn babies, whatever they needed for blood.
Let me get this right now. Are you saying that you saw more than one person killed in that house?
Yeah. I've seen loads of babies killed there, just newborn babies, or aborted ones which were only small. 4-year-olds. Any age, really.
1/6 of Georgia has 37 comments. 37 comments. 4 grand climaxes a year that require the sacrifice of a child or a woman. That's a lot of people.
Wow. Let me just stop it there for 1 second. It appeared this so-called informant is talking about Georgia, home of Senator Nancy Schaefer, who was murdered with her husband. Let's just hear that again about covenants, the mass covenants in Georgia, like it's possibly an empire of child pedophile rings. So let's just hear this again.
Where do the kids come? Or aborted ones which were only small. 4-year-olds. Any age, really.
1/6 of Georgia has 37 comments. 37 comments. 4 grand climaxes a year that require the sacrifice of a child or a woman. That's a lot of people.
Where do the kids come from? The majority that are used for that.
People don't want to know that answer.
If you're finding this
Hard to believe. So did I at first.
If there is an expert on satanic cults, it would have to be him.
Do you believe Teresa's story?
I believe Teresa's story. It's exactly the same story as I've heard from men who says they've done it.
You've dealt with other cases like hers?
Yes.
21 cases like hers, he says, in the past 2 years alone.
Themes like they were put in boxes with spiders and worms, where they were trapped in fear, where there was a high use of excrement and urine, where there was talk of human sacrifice.
Take just one of those rituals, putting children in boxes with spiders and worms. Now, listen to what Teresa told her mother.
And they had a coffin-like box that children were put in with spiders and snakes, and the lid shut and left in there.
Did you ever encounter the adrenochrome ritual?
Growing up, yes. What was that like? It was the brutal torture of children within an inch of their life.
This is the artwork displayed in the home of Tony Podesta, a DNC super lobbyist. Is this life imitating art? Or is this art imitating life? And the bigger question, who are the faces in these paintings? And where do they come from? And what if your neighborhood pizza parlor had an art showing like this? It makes you wonder, are we the crazy ones? Or have we just been paying attention?
The story of Teresa is a story almost too horrible to recount. A case of child abuse that goes well beyond the kind of things we normally associate with the abuse of children. In 27 years of reporting, it has to be one of the most painful stories I have ever had to tell.
You mean you had a child?
Yeah.
How old were you when you had that child?
11.
Motherhood at the age of 11. But from what Teresa told her mother, it wasn't the only pregnancy.
We think that's 7 or 8 times. It's hard to say. It was constantly happening from the time she was capable of being pregnant.
Horrible to recount. A case of child abuse that goes well beyond the kind of things we normally associate with the abuse of children. In 27 years of reporting, it has to be one of the most painful stories I have ever had to tell.
You mean you had a child?
Yeah.
How old were you when you had that child?
11.
Motherhood at the age of 11. But from what Teresa told her mother, it wasn't the only pregnancy.
We think that's 7 or 8 times. It's hard to say. It was constantly happening from the time she was capable of being pregnant.
What would happen to the fetuses, the unborn babies?
I used to be taken away most of the time, and one time baby was taken out of me and then killed in front of me because it was still alive.
And then what would happen?
Well, after they killed it, they would eat it.
This is a very common occurrence to encounter survivors that have lost children. And as children, they've lost children. I think as young as 11 years old is what I've heard and encountered of babies having babies and watching them be sacrificed.
Multi-generational ritual abuse survivors. We're talking about if I were to have a child who had a child who had a child that's undocumented in these rings.
So they breed kids for the specific purpose of using them for sacrifice?
Breeders. and it's more common than you think. And the rest of the kids, from foster care, orphans, people that don't have any family.
We have had several clients that were trafficked and transported through Child Protective Services and foster care system. Federal or state organizations, they want to deny that it exists or deny the problem because a lot of our children are passing through their hands. They are absolutely a part of the problem.
There are hundreds of children in Arizona who are missing right now from state custody.
State lawmakers are now questioning how 70 foster kids can go missing.
In the meantime, the Arizona Department of Child Safety says tonight they can't locate 44 children who are supposed to be in their custody.
Investigators believe the 4 children may have been taken from their foster home.
They recovered 25 missing and endangered children over the last month. 1 in 4 was part of what they believe an alleged human trafficking situation.
In Orange County last year, they had a bust for these traffickers. 65% of those victims were wards of Child Protective Services. Not only were they wards of Child Protective Services, but check this out. They were never reported missing.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So maybe they were literally sold.
Well,
people within Child Protective Services.
This trafficking is a lot bigger and a lot more involved politically than we care to look at or the media won't cover. Everybody's afraid because there's some real big heavy hitters that are very influential that are involved.
I totally believe that the majority of the government is either involved, covering it up, or has intentionally put blinders up so that they don't have to deal with it. 4 years ago, Brian Kemp's wife told you that the state of Georgia lost 3,600 kids to trafficking. Where'd they go? If each of them, all 37 of them, need to sacrifice 4 times a year minimal, that accounts for a good chunk of them, doesn't it?
What is it that they do not want uncovered that is leading to this body count?
Who's involved? Do you want me to die? How deep it goes is insurmountable. I feel like everyone knows who's involved.
Hello, guys. Something special is happening in here. That's right. It's brackets and jackets. Bringing it back for brackets and jackets. Special Epstein Island edition.
My name's Corey Daniel. Online, I go by The Phoenix Enigma.
Check out Phoenix Enigma YouTube recent video on Depp and Hollywood.
Okay. The channel began morphing from desert and Phoenix stuff into the occult and following current political events. And I began de-occulting or deconstructing these public rituals that take place in public settings. You know, back in the day, witches and people who worked higher ritual ceremonial magic would do them in basements. They'd do them in, you know, mansions or castles or groves and forests. Now, the entire world has been pulled into these rituals, and they're now executed in public. And everyone's a part of it, whether they realize it or not. This all began, I guess publicly, it all began on July 22nd at 1:33 in the afternoon at the San Diego Comic-Con.
Okay, what's up? We're back.
Okay. Got to pause it there for a second. I'm going to take a little break. Okay, so that commentary was very deep, that these rituals are in your face, in public, every day. Before they were in the closet, before they're in a tunnel, before they're in a basement. These murders of these children in large scale and volume, in your face, foster care adoption, every single day, nobody's stopping it. And so it's a powerful statement that the terror, the ritual is in your face. that they want as many dead children as possible, ultimately, one way or the other, and they're going to induce it and induce it and induce it through all sorts of ways. But the greatest way is CPS foster care adoption, the torture and the deaths and the strangulations that happen there, the sacrificing of all the murdered children. You're not going to find probably a larger cluster of murdered children than in foster care, maybe medical. Second, medical malpractice of some type, right? They give them the wrong vaccine or something. But powerful statement there. We're going to replay that statement that these rituals are held in plain sight and everybody is complicit. Imagine that. There it is there. There's everybody. There's your everybody. All your good cops, all your good social workers, all your good judges, all your good doctors. They're all there. Everything's being done in plain sight. All the murders of foster kids in plain sight, and everyone's complicit. All these people you see here. I even missed a few. I tried to cover them, but yeah. Back to the video. Let's hear that one more time. Ritual, satanic cult, sacrifices in plain sight.
I think as young as 11 years old.
Or have we just... The story of Teresa is a story almost too horrible to recount. A case of child abuse that goes well beyond the kind of things we normally associate with the abuse of children. In 27 years of reporting, it has to be one of the most painful stories I have ever had to tell.
You mean you had a child?
Yeah.
How old were you when you had that child?
11.
Motherhood at the age of 11. But from what Teresa told her mother, it wasn't the only pregnancy.
We think that's 7 or 8 times. It's hard to say. It was constantly happening from the time she was capable of being pregnant.
Horrible to recount. A case of child abuse that goes well beyond the kind of things we normally associate with the abuse of children. In 27 years of reporting, it has to be one of the most painful stories I have ever had to tell.
You mean you had a child?
Yeah.
How old were you when you had that child?
11.
Motherhood at the age of 11. But from what Teresa told her mother, it wasn't the only pregnancy.
We think that's 7 or 8 times. It's hard to say. It was constantly happening from the time she was capable of being pregnant.
What would happen to the fetuses, the unborn babies?
I used to be taken away most of the time, and one time baby was taken out of me and then killed in front of me because it was still alive.
And then what would happen?
Well, after they killed it, they would eat it.
This is a very common occurrence to encounter survivors that have lost children. And as children, they've lost children. I think as young as 11 years old is what I've heard and encountered of babies having babies and watching them be sacrificed.
Multi-generational ritual abuse survivors. We're talking about if I were to have a child who had a child who had a child that's undocumented in these rings.
So they breed kids for the specific purpose of using them for sacrifice?
Breeders. And it's more common than you think. And the rest of the kids from foster care, orphans, people that don't have any family.
We have had several clients come that were trafficked and transported through Child Protective Services and foster care system. Federal or state organizations, they They want to deny that it exists or deny the problem because a lot of our children are passing through their hands. They are absolutely a part of the problem.
There are hundreds of children in Arizona who are missing right now from state custody.
State lawmakers are now questioning how 70 foster kids can go missing.
In the meantime, the Arizona Department of Child Safety says tonight they can't locate 44 children who are supposed to be in their custody.
Investigators believe the 4 children may have been taken from their foster home.
They recovered 25 missing and endangered children over the last month. 1 in 4 was part of what they believe an alleged human trafficking situation.
In Orange County last year, they had a bust for these traffickers. 65% of those victims were wards of Child Protective Services. Not only were they wards of Child Protective Services, but check this out. They were never reported missing.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So maybe they were literally sold.
Well,
people within Child Protective Services.
this trafficking is a lot bigger and a lot more involved politically than we care to look at or the media won't cover. Everybody's afraid because there's some real big heavy hitters that are very influential that are involved.
I totally believe that the majority of the government is either involved, covering it up, or has intentionally put blinders up so that they don't have to deal with it. 4 years ago, Brian Kemp's wife told you that the state of Georgia lost 3,600 kids to trafficking. Where'd they go? If each dozen, all 37 of them, need to sacrifice 4 times a year minimal, that accounts for a good chunk of them, doesn't it?
What is it that they do not want uncovered that is leading to this body count?
Who's involved? You want me to die? How deep it goes is insurmountable. I feel like everyone knows who's involved.
Hello, guys. Something special is happening in here. That's right. It's brackets and jackets. Bringing it back for brackets and jackets. Special Epstein Island edition.
My name's Corey Daniel. Online, I go by The Phoenix Enigma.
Check out Phoenix Enigma YouTube recent video on Depp and Hollywood. Okay.
The channel began morphing from desert and Phoenix stuff into the occult and following current political events. And I began de-occulting or deconstructing these public rituals that take place in public settings. You know, back in the day, witches and people who worked higher ritual ceremonial magic would do them in basements. They'd do them in, you know, mansions or castles or groves and forests. Now, the entire world has been pulled into these rituals, and they're now executed in public. And everyone's a part of it, whether they realize it or not. This all began, I guess publicly, it all began on July 22nd at 1:33 in the afternoon at the San Diego Comic-Con.
Okay, what's up? I'm back. I said some crazy shit on Twitter. That is true. Not something I wanted to say, but I'm tired of people lying. I've watched these people just lie and 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 lie, and they will never ever tell the truth. So I'm here to tell the truth.
Apparently, according to Isaac, Seth and Claire invited him over for dinner, talked to him about chicken, showed him a room upstairs with a crib and baby stuff in it, and Seth opened up like a bookshelf, like a secret room, like a real secret room, and in there was like chains and beds and stuff. And he says,
"This is where we keep the children."
So he told that story on July 22nd at 1:33 in the afternoon. That's when he hit it go on his Instagram.
Seth Green, sorry, my man. So sorry. I never wanted to do this, but you're a pedophile.
I never met Isaac.
So yeah, just understand what he's saying here, that this is what we witness here in plain sight is satanic ritual abuse. All these unhidden, in your face, happy faces, murders of children in scale and in volume around the world is a form of satanic ritual abuse in plain sight, and everyone is involved. Imagine that. Imagine that they are contaminating the world with these images. These are the happy images, right? You don't get to see the manglings, the bruising, the broken bones, the hemorrhaging, the bruising, the blood. You don't get to see any of that. You just get to see this. But literally, they're practicing in scale and in volume sacrifices for the cult in plain sight, and everybody's a witness. Imagine that. So yeah, fascinating perspective. Let me just get back to who's all involved. It's right here. I changed the channel. But yeah, good content, good conversation. Keep it going. Rolling.
I never knew Isaac Kathy. I knew of him, but not by name. I knew there was a guy with crazy hair on the internet that had been talking about pedos. He mentioned by name Seth Green. He mentioned Tom Hanks. He mentioned Spielberg and dozens of other ones.
Google paid Macaulay like a lot of money to do those pizza ads. Google knows. I had a whistleblower that said Eric Schmidt was a pedophile. So Google knows.
He was spearheading an underground social media movement called Unseal Epstein.
Epstein, that implicates Israel for one. Was Epstein Island a Mossad honey trap? I have a lot of whistleblowers who are a little bit like, nah, but I'd like to tell you personally, but nah, not for me. We're getting closer and closer and closer. I got a line about a story that's going to be hitting about some pedophiles, famous ones. They still support Hillary Clinton. It's child trafficking, pedophile, cannibal, satanic pedophile, rapist, child trafficker. You want to know how the story ends?
He was sourcing information from social media, aggregating it, and giving it to his handler, someone who I verified actually existed and was moving the information to DC. He had a DC contact. That's what he was doing. He was big. He believed he figured out what Epstein was doing and who Epstein was and how far it went. He wound up being on Lift the Veil channel.
It's got to go. Like we should not have a world order where children are just raped and even murdered. It's disgusting, disgusting and sick, and it creates a lot of broken people. And I don't like that. They've been covering this stuff up longer than you and I have been alive.
Yeah,
this is nothing new.
Goes back to Babylon, doesn't it?
He was on Alex Jones.
So many whistleblowers are coming to me with amazing information. It's explosive stuff. I've had people that have actually seen the blackmail material for a lot of really big people that you know their names worldwide. The Epstein thing, that was a giant honeypot operation, and that's one of the things I've been stressing to the people that have been watching me. And by the way, a lot of people that have been watching me on my Periscope streams, they're new to this.
My name is Alicia. I was introduced to Isaac through a friend of mine. She kept telling me, you got to watch this guy, Isaac. He's talking about things that you know about. You should listen to Isaac. Isaac was very loving. He loved his audience. He brought everybody in with group hugs. He was immediately likable.
Way too low. A hug, yes, let's do it. Hugs. What up, family Lamborghinis? Here we are. What's up, everybody? What's up, family Lamborghinis?
He talked about really heavy things, and I learned a lot.
Did anyone read that article I sent out on the Telegram group? Ooh, man, I posted something on like Telegram. Oh, geez. Made me sick to my stomach about someone I used to know.
I would talk every now and then in the live chats, just a little bit. And he kept talking about his FamiLam group. And so I got on Telegram and I found how to find Isaac, and he gave me the link to the room. And so I joined the FamiLam. I would talk to them and we would kind of have little conversations. And Isaac would come in and out of those groups, and he was always bouncing around from the different rooms. And that's how Isaac and I started talking, was in the room publicly. And then I messaged him once in a while in his private DM, and we would talk a little bit. You know, in May, he made a request.
If you're LA local and you want to reach out, that would be nice. I would like to, maybe talk to more people that are local. Because I've been by myself in my house.
But I messaged him and I said, hey, did anybody take you up on your offer to come and see you? And he said, no, nobody did. And I said, well, I'll be done with work in a couple hours then. Send me your address. What am I doing? Right? And I'll bring you some dinner and I'll keep you some company.
He named his group of people he collected called the FamiLam Brigade. That started out in Keybase.
Hi. So you can follow me once you download keybase.io at Isaac Cappy.
And then it moved over to Telegram because Keybase is kind of gnarly to navigate. He was sourcing information. It was his support group. He would go make his Periscope videos, and then he would go on. He was always in there, and he, people wanted to be close to a Hollywood actor, and people just started gravitating him. But there was real work being done in there. I assume that the fam was infiltrated from the beginning because Isaac said so. He said, I've been infiltrated. People from the beginning that were not my friends that were here watching.
I wasn't going to say anything today, but I prayed, and then Jesus said he had my back. So, guys, I just found out a bunch of stuff this morning. Yeah, I look like I've seen a ghost. Yeah, I have. And someone that was very close to me, I'm pretty sure they were just there to infiltrate me. They tried to set someone up that you know and love. They're fucking evil. These people are evil. These people are evil. They're unregistered foreign agents. Oh, boy.
When Isaac opened the door, I had my hands full of groceries, and he hugged me from the porch, and we walked in, and I put my things there. I said, now let's have a proper hug. And he hugged me so hard. Sorry. He'd been alone too long, and he needed company so badly. I made him dinner. We sat down at the bar, and he held my hand, and we prayed over our food, and he thanked God for his food, and he thanked God for my kindness to be there. But he was nervous, and he paced around his dining room. He walked down the hall, and he'd come back a little bit, and he was nervous. He was still pacing, and I wasn't sure what else to do to help him feel relaxed. And I'm a retired massage therapist, and I said, hey, sit in your chair right here, and why don't you let me rub your shoulders and your neck for you? See if I can help you relax a little bit. You look really tired. And I had felt when I was running my fingers through his hair, there was a knot this size on the low back end of his head. And it was raised off his head a good 1.5 inches. It was a huge knot. I made note of it, and I didn't touch his neck anymore. And I rubbed his shoulders, and we talked. I felt him relax. And he said, I think maybe I can get a few hours sleep. I finally feel okay. So we said goodbye, and I said, why don't I come back in a couple days and we'll have another visit. I don't want to see you be alone right now. And he said, I would really like that. Please come back. So we made plans for me to come and see him again on Saturday. And I left. And then on Friday was that video.
Gonna miss the brackets and jackets? Yeah, well, the bracket tolls for the... I'm not suicidal. I'm not suicidal. Yeah, it's really bad, Minor. It's really fucking bad. It's really bad. Is this my last broadcast? Yeah, it probably will be. It probably will be. It probably will be. And I feel I saw all the love outpouring towards me in the messages. And made me feel really badly. Is Q going to bracket my initials? Probably, yeah, probably.
When your name goes in brackets, it means you're dead. So, and he didn't want to say much more about that. Instead, he talked a little bit about things that were going on inside of him and things he was thinking about and things that were happening to him. And people were so concerned about him. We were all concerned, chatting amongst ourselves in the fam-a-lam. Is he suicidal? What's going on? Something's wrong. So when I went back on Saturday, I said, hey, look, I want to talk about your video with you because I'm worried about you. And the whole fam-a-lam is really worried about you. And he said, I'm not suicidal. I'm really not. I promise you I'm not. But something bad is coming for me. And it would be easier for me to commit suicide than what they're going to do to me. I said, do you know what that is? He said, they're going to tear me limb from limb. And I said, how can we make you safe? He said, there's no way to make me safe. Nothing is going to make me safe from this. He says, I have been totally lied to. Everyone around me that I thought I was doing the right thing with, they were not who they said they were. Not a one of them was who they said they were, and I suddenly had that understanding. And that's when I knew I was in trouble.
Only listen to good. I don't even know who's good. Even the people I think are good are like not even helping me. Like they're just like, oh yeah, whatever. I was just doing cool stuff for us. They don't care about me. They don't fucking care about a human being. They don't care about David Scherner. They don't care about vegan Mikey. They don't care about people that are abused. They don't care about anybody.
That day, I never saw a human suffer so much. He was terrified. And at one point he lay down on his bed and he said, I don't want to be inappropriate, but I'm really scared and I really need someone to hold me. Would you mind? So I crawled up next to him and wrapped myself around him and hugged him really tight and touched his face and touched his hair. And he'd just start to calm down and then he'd get up and run again. Out in Apple Valley where he lived, it was reasonable for there to be sudden weather changes. And we were out on the back. He was smoking and these clouds rolled in and it got dark nearly immediately. And he said, there's a storm coming to me. I said, yeah, why don't we come inside? It looks like it's going to rain. And so we came inside and he said, let's go get tacos. And as we made this left up the street, there were some old buildings and there was nothing going on. My radio wasn't on. It was quiet in the car because we were talking. And all of a sudden, there was this sound of music in my bones, in my head, in my body. And we both jumped.
Ain't gonna let them censor me. You know that. That's a little trick. They'll throw that in there for the censor. A weekend edition. Stu Peters' little ones. Gotta pass up this Phil Collins here. Stand by.
And the music stopped. As soon as we got out of the parking lot, I was trying to turn my radio off. The radio was not. It turned on when I pushed it. he had admitted that he was hearing a lot of sounds and a lot of noise, a lot of music, and that he had been banging his head on the ground, and that attributed to the knot on the back of his head. When people are targeted with V2K for a long period of time, their occipital bones hurt. You can't touch them. And that's right where I touched Isaac, where he almost cried. And then they start banging their heads anywhere they can, because the sound bounces off of your occipital bones and into the center back, and then it projects forward.
Guys, I have a headache today, just to let you know. Last time I told you I had a headache, after we talked for a while, like the headache went away. So I'm telling you in hopes that that happens again.
After my visit with him on Saturday, I was going to come back on Sunday and pick him up and bring him to my place, give him a week. And I messaged him a few times, and he didn't get back to me right away. And about 3 o'clock, he messaged me back and said, I'm going to go see my mom. This is important to me. But I'll take you up on that when I get back. Sunday evening, I was vacuuming and doing some chores, and I had followed him on Instagram, and I heard the tone for something on Instagram, so I picked it up. It was Isaac, and he was doing a little live, and you could see the sun setting behind him, and he was pulling at his hair and twisting it and talking, and he kind of showed in his car with his camera he was alone. And then we didn't hear from him. He was busy talking to other people, and I kept checking to see if he was coming into the chat. Nothing and nothing. And we started asking, anyone hear from Isaac? Anyone hear from Isaac? Anyone hear from Isaac? We didn't hear anything on Monday. Nobody heard anything on Monday. And then on Tuesday morning, I was sitting at my desk and I was working, and one of my new friends in the family said, I need to tell you something.
I'm not suicidal. I'm not suicidal. Did I lie about Seth Green? No, Seth Green's a pedophile. Am I afraid of something? I'm afraid of, no, I should be, because bad things are coming my way. I can assure you of that.
Okay, we're live here, CPS News Network. That's claimed Cappy. They're talking about people that seen him that day, people that were familiar with him that day. He's not suicidal. But they put on that music in the background. They should know better than that. That's what the censors are. It's almost like censor triggers, that copyright music. They love to just filter that in there and get you censored, get you tagged, get you marked. Is that Cappy on a bridge? It almost looks like it's a Photoshop. I mean, look at the body shape looks awkward, length of shirt, short little legs. It just doesn't. Who knows the legitimacy of the murder? But that he wasn't suicidal that day, and who's going to do it this way? I mean, it's much better probably to overdose in your own time, your own space, your own sanctity, your own there's other ways of doing it than this. This is too sensationalized, to how this happened, we don't know, but this is in your face sensationalism. Capture the video. What do you want? Yeah, we're going to get a video of him sitting on a freaking bridge before he jumps. Lunatic. Everything he said cannot be trusted. The decimation, the gaslighting, the slander. See, he was crazy. See, he's jumping from a bridge like a lunatic. Very propagandized murder. We're going to keep rolling with it. Hopefully that audio's gone. Stand by.
Isaac Cappy out of Mexico.
Okay, literally make sure you get the body. Okay. Talks about some other people, Andrew Breitbart, other people murdered. Stand by. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can hear me. Yeah, so you're seeing Cappy on the ground. They want you to, clearly see what's going on. They didn't need to show that, but to let it out, to capture the bloody images, him on the bridge. And they talk about others who've died. Andrew Breitbart calling out Podesta as a pogo child trafficker. Podesta, claimed father of Bennington, Chester Bennington, lead singer. But lots of just the depth is of creating culture, creating superstars, uh, uh, the abuse, how sexual abuse it gives these people, super talents of expression. That's what they claim, and so yeah, here we're highlighting some other deaths of people that have claimed to have blew the whistle, but nobody blows the whistle like we do nowadays. So, what's the whistle? They don't care about the whistleblower. I don't think. I don't know what Isaac knew so much about, or held back names. He never appeared to be holding back names, but compared to the focus point of scale and volume, he was just talking about some actors, but we're talking about CPS foster care adoption, large scale murders, sacrifices in plain sight. Johnny Rios, probably another actor, shot in head. But that they don't care how much of this gets out there, and to scare people, to grab the headlines. But what was he really doing that other people weren't doing? Did he get Tom Hanks mad? Nothing that gets said about any of these high level official traffickers. Nothing happens. Specifically like Podesta, who's claimed to be a very high level Hillary Clinton, whatever, coordinator. Is that real blood? Is that the color of real blood? Is that the way real blood puddles? I don't know. Looks really thick. What was it? Is that how it dries on 120 degree asphalt? We don't know. Many times we don't really know what happened to these people. We don't know what happened to Cappy. We know that he wasn't suicidal, which we hear from many people, and how they can do this or coordinate this or stage this. It's very easy. Arizona, great place to do it. Mormon epicenter of control and lots of creepy things going on in Arizona. So they have all the elements to pull off whatever they want in Arizona. Again, covering Cappy, said he jumped from a bridge. It's just not his way of doing things. I don't think he liked pain at all. I don't think he was a pain monger, somebody who likes pain. And I don't think he would have jumped from a bridge. He doesn't, he's a kind-hearted, loving human person, likes hugs, likes to feel people, very appreciative of every breath he takes, and not somebody who's into pain. And this is not the way to kill yourself. It doesn't appear for his personality. And why they show this portion of it, why they actually show the body. I'm not going to stop it, but you get the idea. Oh, and then it went
Isaac
to
Cappy out
Breitbart.
of New Mexico.
Andrew Breitbart. Yeah, dead. Yeah, Cappy. What did he really piss off? What did he know that we didn't know? What did it? What are we putting out that's any different than what he's talking about, or who's behind it all? Did he piss off the actors? I mean, what was his big thing? That because a lot of what he talks about is already out there and in worse forms from people that we still see alive, whistleblowers, Hollywood. How much of a lid did he pull on it? Was he a detriment to them? Was he a conduit of gathering information on other cases that he might have talked about? But the stuff that we cover, I mean, it's more intense than what Cappy was covering. The coverings, the Freemasonry, the sacrifices, religious sacrifices that are in this skit. Four sacrifices a year for the Freemason crew. And they have 40 covens. So about 160 children or adults need to be sacrificed to Moloch in Georgia, Nancy Schaefer hometown, every year. But that, the way it was done was just to warn everybody to shut up, to not engage him, any content. Yeah, to warn everybody that to shut up. Maybe he was used for that. But then it did show here Andrew Breitbart, the heart attack on the corner, talking about John Podesta. Podesta, his tweet that John Podesta, campaign manager of Hillary, child traffic, pro-go, international extraordinaire, that why is he not known for this when that's what they claim he is? Podesta, you try to post something about Podesta and they're going to censor it. Andrew Breitbart saying he's going to blow the whistle on Obama, got all his dirty laundry. And the day before he's going to do it, he's dead in Brentwood, California, dead on the corner, drops like a sack of potatoes, stone cold red. What killed him? But powerful figure, Andrew Breitbart, taking on John Podesta in the mainstream media. That what's in your closet, John Podesta, and tweeting about him being a possible child kingpin, child traffic kingpin of children. Johnny Rios, don't know much about him in that case. Robert Shariva, some Cobb, again, the so-called whistleblowers, Kate Spade, Nancy Schaefer, we all know about her. Interesting documentary when they're talking about the 40 covens, Georgia, that need 4 children or adults to sacrifice every year. And where do they get those 160 adults and children from? And how she was murdered there. So interesting connection there between covens and the volume of children and adults they need to sacrifice every year.
Can't speak for themselves. And for the rights of all who are destitute, speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and the needy. Thank you.
This story began with the abduction of baby Cyrus. And so you may be wondering if his fate matched those of the thousands of children who enter foster care. Not many people can say that they've witnessed a miracle. But when Diego invited me into his home to share their story, I experienced the undeniable power of God. It's going to empower so many people, especially, we have a huge movement of God that we can feel in this country right now.
Absolutely.
And
Sorry to interrupt. We have some news. We just got off the phone with our lawyers. They dismissed the case.
It's over.
No, yeah, I think
it's done. We're done with it. You have got to be. Your gag order is
just got off the phone with
our lawyers.
no gag order.
Cyrus is ours.
It's ours.
I'm gonna go now, and maybe I'll come back. We'll see. But stay in the light. Stay in the moment. Maybe I'll be back later. I love you. Take care, okay?